Something is about to happen to you tonight that you cannot explain, but you will feel it the moment you wake. Close your eyes and prepare yourself for something powerful. The next few hours will quietly transform the way you think, believe, and create your reality. Tonight is not about listening. It is about absorbing. While you sleep, your conscious mind will step aside, and your subconscious will open like a doorway. In that state, without resistance, without doubt, without the weight of old beliefs fighting back, these words will enter the deepest part of you. They will plant themselves like seeds in fertile soil. You will not remember everything you hear tonight, and that is perfectly fine. Your subconscious will remember. It will record every principle, every law, every truth spoken here. And while your body rests, your mind will begin its silent work, reorganizing patterns of thought that have held you back, dissolving limitations you did not even know you carried, building new pathways toward the life you have always desired but never quite believed possible. By the time you wake, something will have changed. You may not see it immediately, but you will feel it. A quiet confidence, a strange certainty, an inner knowing that what once seemed impossible is now within reach. Tonight, you are not just resting, you are being rebuilt. So let go of control, surrender to sleep, and allow these laws of success, abundance, and transformation to do their work in the silence.
Something strange is about to happen to you, not by chance, not by miracle, but by the law that governs every great transformation in human history. You believe you understand your limits. You believe you understand what is possible for your life. But if you listen closely, you will soon discover you have been wrong about both. Most people walk through life inside a cage so familiar they no longer see the bars. They adjust to limitations that never belong to them. They shrink to fit the expectations of smaller minds. They convince themselves that certain outcomes are impossible simply because they have never witnessed them. But impossibility is often nothing more than unclaimed potential. Let me ask you directly, when was the last time something happened in your life that made you stop, stare, and whisper to yourself, "How is this even possible?" When did you last feel the world rearrange itself in your favor with a speed that defied logic? When did you last experience a breakthrough so sudden and powerful that it felt as if life itself had stepped aside to let you pass? If you cannot remember, good. It means your mind is ready. Ready to hear what the average man will never understand. Ready to awaken the law that bends circumstances. Ready to release the chain that ties you to the predictable, the ordinary, the safe. There is a reason the extraordinary has not yet entered your life. It is not because it is unavailable, but because your thoughts have not given it permission. You have been living by the rules of your past instead of the laws of your potential. You have let fear write the script instead of desire. And fear is a poor author. It writes only what it has seen before. But desire writes the impossible. Now imagine this. You listen to a voice for 2 hours, a voice that speaks with precision, conviction, law. A voice that bypasses the doubts you have rehearsed for years, a voice that awakens something ancient and powerful within you. And as you listen, your mind begins to reorganize itself. Your thoughts change shape. Your belief structure shifts. Your subconscious receives a new command. Then within days, sometimes within hours, something in your life moves. An opportunity appears. A decision becomes clear. A limitation dissolves. A breakthrough arrives from a direction you never considered. You call it impossible. But deep down, you know it is simply the result of thinking at a higher level than you ever have before. Impossible things do not happen to you. They happen through you. Before you hear another word, understand this. The impossible is not a category of events. It is a category of thinking. And once your thinking changes, the events must follow. They are chained to your belief, commanded by your definiteness, shaped by your internal vision. You have lived many years with a divided mind. A part of you believed in greatness. Another part doubted it.
A part of you prayed for opportunity. Another part feared it. A part of you wanted change. Another part clung to familiarity. This division is the reason your results have been uncertain, inconsistent, incomplete. The impossible manifests only when the mind becomes one, decisive, definite, unwavering. And that is what these 2 hours are designed to do. Not entertain you, not inspire you, but unify your mind into a single force so powerful that reality has no choice but to yield. You will hear words that do not merely enter your ears, they enter your identity. You will hear truths that do not simply inform you, they transform you. Most people listen to wisdom the way they listen to rain, background noise. They hope somehow it washes their life clean without their participation. But if you listen as a man who intends to be changed, the words become something else entirely. They become commands to the subconscious. They become blueprints. They become law, and law does not fail. Now consider what would happen if, for the next 2 hours, you opened your mind fully, without resistance, without doubt, without distraction. What would happen if you allowed these teachings to carve new highways through your thinking? What would happen if your imagination, long confined to small expectations, suddenly expanded to accommodate the extraordinary? You would not remain the same man. You could not. Something in you would break upward, break forward, break free. And once that break occurs, reality bends around it. But let me warn you, if you listen casually, nothing impossible will happen. The impossible is only given to the man who listens with intent, the man who listens with hunger, the man who listens as though his future depends on how present he is in these next minutes, because it does. Ask yourself, what if the breakthrough you have waited years for is waiting behind a single shift in your thinking? What if these 2 hours are not just information, but initiation? What if your next chapter has been held back only because the man who must live it has not yet awakened? You stand on the edge of something rare. This is not a speech. It is a doorway into the version of you who does not negotiate with fear, who does not shrink before opportunity, who does not dream timidly, who does not settle for predictable outcomes. A version of you who believes so deeply in the possibility of the extraordinary that the extraordinary becomes ordinary. If you are ready to cross that threshold, listen carefully. Do not drift. Do not wander. Do not allow a single word to pass unnoticed. The next 2 hours can do what years of effort could not, because when a man finally learns to think at the level of law, the impossible bows before him. Now listen and prepare yourself. Something is about to happen in your life that logic cannot explain. There is a secret hidden in plain sight, one that separates the average dreamer from the man who bends reality itself. The impossible is never a wall of circumstance, but a shadow of thought. It does not exist outside of you. It exists within the limits you have unconsciously accepted. The moment those limits are withdrawn, the impossible loses structure. It evaporates like mist before morning light. Most men spend their lives fighting conditions, not realizing that conditions are mere reflections of their belief. They blame the market, fate, luck, or the will of others, all the while feeding the very limitations that confine them. Yet no cage is stronger than the idea that built it. The impossible is not a verdict. It is a habit of imagination. Change the habit, and the verdict reverses. Look closely at the word itself, impossible. Within it sleeps its own contradiction, I'm possible. The law hides in language, waiting for those who listen deeper than they hear. For centuries, men have treated impossibility as destiny, yet destiny itself is the obedient servant of definite thought. Every law of success, every law of wealth, every discovery of genius began with one soul who dared to ask, what if this is not impossible at all? The world calls such souls visionaries, but in truth they are realists of a higher order. They perceive reality not as it is, but as it could be. And because they hold that image unwaveringly, the world reshapes itself to match it. Thomas Edison did not see darkness. He saw the idea of light contained within it.
Abraham Lincoln did not see division. He saw unity hidden beneath conflict. They understood that impossibility is only the boundary line between two levels of thought. You have lived for years within the territory of the ordinary. Your thoughts have followed the same roads. Your emotions have obeyed the same moods. You have acted as though the map of your past were the shape of your future. But the law does not recognize the past. It only obeys the present command of belief. The impossible, therefore, is not a mountain to climb. It is a line to erase. Consider how small men shrink from the vastness of vision. They say, "Be realistic," meaning stay afraid. They call safety wisdom and caution prudence. Yet beneath their words hides surrender. They do not understand that the mind, like the body, decays without use. To call something impossible is to pronounce death upon potential. Faith, however, resurrects it instantly. The man who believes finds power where others see futility, direction where others see confusion. Impossibility is a deception of habit. Your nervous system has been trained by years of repetition to anticipate failure. Each disappointment carved a groove in your mind, and now your thoughts travel those grooves by reflex. To create the impossible, you must cut new grooves, paths of expectation that lead upward, not downward. This is why faith and repetition are not mere words of comfort. They are tools of reconditioning. When you imagine an outcome that defies logic and hold that image with calm conviction, something astonishing happens. Your nervous system begins to reorganize itself to serve that image. Thoughts become sharper, energy intensifies, ideas align. The mind becomes conductor of a new order, and the universe, like an orchestra awaiting instruction, begins to play in tune. This is not fantasy, it is law. The impossible belongs to a higher vibration of thought than the average mind sustains. It is not that miracles require special privilege, they require special posture. The mind must rise to the frequency of its desire. You cannot summon greatness while standing mentally among the small. The man who expects miracles must learn to think like one who deserves them. This law of vibration governs every aspect of life. Every thought emits a silent command to infinite intelligence. When that command is definite, the law obeys instantly. When it is divided by doubt, the law waits. Most people wait for the law. The wise make the law wait for nothing. They think with such precision and feeling that the impossible becomes impatient to appear. Let me speak plainly. No man has ever accomplished anything beyond his belief. If you consider a goal impossible, you have already written its failure into the script of your life. But if you treat the same goal as inevitable, your mind begins plotting routes unseen before. Definite belief releases infinite intelligence in definite direction. It is the key that fits every locked door of destiny. Consider again the example of Edison. He failed over 1,000 times in creating the light bulb. Yet to him, those 1,000 failures were not defeats but discoveries. Each was a refinement of law. "I have not failed," he said. "I've simply found 10,000 ways that do not work." What the world called impossible, he called incomplete. His genius lay not in invention, but in interpretation. He saw failure as progress, not punishment. That perspective is mastery. When you truly grasp this, fear loses its throne. For fear is simply faith facing backward. It is creative energy flowing in reverse. The same force that could build an empire when misdirected constructs a prison. Faith and fear are identical in structure. They differ only in direction. When faith looks toward the desired, it creates. When fear looks toward the undesired, it destroys. The key lies in direction. Imagine for a moment that your thoughts are beams of light. Each day you shine them on certain subjects, your work, your health, your finances. Wherever you direct that beam, life grows vivid. If you aim it at limitation, limitation expands. If you aim it at possibility, possibility takes shape. The universe grows toward the light of your attention. The impossible cannot survive in sustained illumination. There is no force in nature stronger than definiteness of purpose. It is the lever that lifts worlds. Every law of success begins with a decision so firm it no longer permits contradiction. A definite thought gathers power as rivers gather volume. In time, it carves valleys through impossibility. A man who decides once with all his heart does more than another who decides 1,000 times half-heartedly. When I first began studying the habits of successful men, I observed a common pattern. Each one spoke of a turning point, a moment when the mind snapped into conviction. That moment was never when money arrived, nor when opportunity knocked. It was when the individual decided that failure would no longer be entertained. From that instant, circumstances had no choice but to obey. Let us perform a simple experiment. Name one thing in your life that you have secretly labeled impossible. Perhaps it is freedom from debt, mastery of a skill, or the creation of something great. Speak it now aloud, not as a plea, but as a command. Say, "This is now possible for me because law cannot deny definiteness." Feel how your body responds. That subtle surge of energy you feel is creation beginning. You may not see immediate proof, but law has already moved. The seed has been planted in invisible soil. Doubt will attempt to dig it up. Do not permit it. Continue watering with faith and gratitude. Speak often the affirmation, "I now accept that what I call impossible is waiting for my permission to appear." Each repetition strengthens the root until manifestation becomes inevitable. You will notice something curious as you persist. The world around you will begin to treat you differently. People will sense an energy they cannot name, a quiet confidence, a deliberate pace, a calm that provokes respect. You will no longer speak from need, but from knowing. Opportunities that once ignored you will seem to drift into your orbit as though drawn by unseen magnetism. This is not coincidence. It is the rearrangement of reality in response to definiteness. The law does not favor the strong or the educated. It favors the certain. Certainty is the password to power. You may have less experience than others, but if your conviction is greater, you will surpass them. Men of doubt bow to men of faith, for faith commands while doubt hesitates. There is a deeper mystery still. Every time you think a thought with conviction, you summon allies invisible to the physical eye. Ideas, people, events, all begin converging to fulfill your command. Infinite intelligence responds to mental authority, not supplication. You need not beg for miracles. You need only direct them. The mind that creates the impossible does not wait for permission from the world. It gives permission to the world to obey. The man who says, "I will," bends the universe. The man who says, "I hope," bends himself. Between those two phrases lies the difference between obscurity and legend. You must therefore train your imagination to feel the reality of what reason calls impossible. Picture yourself already in possession of it, not vaguely, but vividly. Imagine the details, the sensations, the gratitude. Live that experience in consciousness until the body begins to believe. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between imagined and actual experience. It simply obeys the dominant picture. When your inner world is saturated with the feeling of success, outer events rush to confirm it. The law has no will of its own. It reflects the will impressed upon it. To live by this principle is to become co-creator with infinite intelligence. You cease to be creature of chance and become architect of destiny. Observe how the masses treat the extraordinary. They call it luck, as if the universe occasionally forgets its own order. But luck is the name given by the unthinking to the results of law they do not understand. Behind every miracle lies a mind that dared to think differently, that refused to yield to evidence, that believed longer than logic permitted. The impossible bows not to strength, but to persistence. Let me remind you of something eternal. Thought precedes creation.
No form exists that was not first imagined. The bridge you cross, the house you inhabit, the book you read, all were thoughts before they were things. The same law applies to your destiny. You cannot experience what you have not first imagined and accepted as real within. The impossible, therefore, dies the moment you stop believing in it. It does not fade slowly. It vanishes like darkness before dawn. The light of definite belief dispels it utterly. The world has no defense against a mind united in faith. That is why all great movements of progress begin with one man certain of an idea the rest call madness. He is not mad, he is awake. When you begin living by this law, you will feel as though the universe itself has become your collaborator. Synchronicities will appear, guiding you toward unseen connections. People will arrive precisely when needed. Resources will align at the 11th hour. You will experience what men call impossible coincidences, though they are merely perfect obedience of law. You will also notice that old fears lose substance. They will still whisper, but their voice will sound distant, almost unfamiliar. You will find yourself responding to challenges with curiosity rather than panic. This is the sign of transformation. The mind that once begged for miracles now expects them. Remember this: you are not asking life to give you something new. You are commanding life to reveal what it has always held in reserve for the man who dares to claim it. The impossible is not creation. It is revelation. You are uncovering what has been waiting behind the veil of your doubt. Let this truth settle deep within you. The impossible is simply the law of creation waiting for your agreement. It does not resist, it waits. It does not hide, it obeys. The moment your belief reaches the point of conviction, the law moves, and the world rearranges itself in silence to match your new command. Hold this understanding as sacred. Guard it as the foundation of all power. Speak it, live it, breathe it until it becomes the rhythm of your being. For once you know the law of the impossible mind, you will never again ask if something can be done. You will decide how and when. The world belongs to the decisive. The impossible belongs to the believing. And the future belongs to the man who knows that both are one and the same. There exists a hidden polarity in every circumstance, a secret hinge upon which all results turn. Every thought, every event, every emotion contains its opposite. What appears as defeat hides the seed of victory. What feels like fear conceals faith awaiting command. The law is precise. Nothing exists without its equal counterpart, and the man who learns to reverse energy rules both sides of the coin. Most men are slaves to the surface of things. When faced with adversity, they collapse into complaint, never realizing that resistance is potential energy misunderstood. The law does not waste power. It merely hides it. Your task is to reverse the flow. Instead of asking how to escape difficulty, ask what power it carries when turned in the other direction. For every motion of fear, there is a counter motion of faith waiting to be released. Reversal is the unseen genius of every master. The great minds of history never fled hardship. They converted it. They used what crushed others as material for ascent. The wise man does not resist opposition. He inverts it, transforming its pressure into propulsion. Every impossibility becomes its own solution once the mind changes its direction of interpretation. You must understand that fear itself is creative energy moving backward. It has the same heat as faith, but burns in the wrong direction. Both are fires of the same origin. When you feel fear rise, recognize it not as enemy, but as misdirected faith. Simply turn it. Declare inwardly, this energy now works for me. In that instant, law obeys reversal, and what once paralyzed you becomes fuel for forward movement. Picture a river blocked by stones. The current does not die, it builds pressure until it finds another way. The same is true of the mind. When your progress feels obstructed, the power has not vanished. It has merely changed route, waiting for new direction. The man who despairs remains damned. The man who redirects carves new channels. Reversal is redirection at the highest level of law. Consider Henry Ford. Every expert declared his dream of a single-piece V8 engine impossible. They warned him of mechanical law, of cost, of failure. Ford replied simply, "Build it anyway." When they protested further, he repeated, "Produce it." He reversed their doubt into certainty. Months passed. Engineers struggled. Still, Ford's command never wavered. One day, under that persistent vibration of faith, the design revealed itself. What was impossible bowed to reversal. Coal and diamond share the same substance. One remains dark and fragile, the other brilliant and enduring. The difference lies not in matter, but in transformation. Pressure reversed creates perfection. Your difficulties are coal. Apply faith's heat long enough, and they will crystallize into diamonds of wisdom and strength. Without resistance, you would remain soft and shapeless. Law demands friction for polish. There is no growth without reversal. All advancement is born of opposition properly used. The seed must split before sprouting. The mind must crack its old shell of limitation before expansion. What you call breakdown is often breakthrough in disguise. Every so-called failure carries instruction wrapped in pain, waiting for the one who will extract its law. Men fail not because they lack strength, but because they interpret discomfort as destruction. They mistake friction for misfortune. Yet friction is what makes movement possible. The wheel cannot turn without it. Every moment of tension in your life is a wheel waiting for command. If you face it with resentment, it halts. If you face it with direction, it propels. Learn to view your obstacles as servants wearing masks. Behind every problem stands opportunity disguised by law to test your readiness. When adversity appears, say to yourself, the greater the challenge, the greater the return. This mindset reverses paralysis into power. Faith spoken in defiance of evidence is the highest act of creation. Think of the countless men who built fortunes from despair. The farmer who lost his crops and invented irrigation. The merchant who went bankrupt and discovered new trade routes. The inventor whose failure gave birth to another's success. The difference between them and those who perished is simple. They reversed meaning. They decided that failure was feedback, not finality. There once was a small-town clerk burdened with debt, living in the shadow of defeat. Each night he cursed his misfortune until one evening a thought struck him. What if this weight could make him strong instead of broken? He reversed the feeling. He began treating every obligation as training. He studied finance, improved his service, and within years he not only cleared his debt, but became partner in the very business that once employed him. His success was not born from relief, but reversal. This is the law in motion. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be directed. When you convert the energy of worry into the energy of work, the impossible begins to yield. When you transform complaint into creativity, lack becomes resource. Law does not punish, it balances. You control that balance by directing emotional current. Each time fear visits, it brings a question. Will you command me, or shall I command you? Most answer unconsciously by surrendering. The wise man answers deliberately, "You now serve my purpose." Speak it with calm authority, and the invisible machinery of your mind begins reversing polarity. What was once resistance becomes cooperation. Let us make this practice simple. Whenever an obstacle arises, ask, what opposite command does this contain? If you feel fear of loss, declare, this is faith in gain. If you face delay, affirm, this is preparation for larger success. If you experience rejection, pronounce, this is redirection to higher opportunity. By constant reversal, you teach your mind to translate defeat into instruction. This deliberate redirection builds a habit of dominion. Each time you reverse negativity, you strengthen control. Like muscle, faith grows through resistance. The greater the challenge, the stronger your mastery becomes. In time, you will find yourself almost welcoming adversity. for you will know it cannot harm you. It can only enlarge you. Observe how the law operates in nature. The storm that bends the tree also deepens its roots. The pressure that breaks stone forms valleys for rivers. Life reverses destruction into beauty endlessly. Why should you, the most intelligent of its creations, be any different? The same principle that governs earth and sky governs thought. Reverse pressure into purpose, and you will move mountains. You may notice as this practice deepens that your emotional landscape changes. Where once panic rose, now curiosity appears. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you will ask, "What law is this revealing?" This question alone transforms consciousness. The victim reacts, the creator observes. To observe is to reclaim dominion. Even history itself testifies to this law. Every civilization that rose from ruin did so by reversal. Defeat in battle became seed of reform. Economic collapse became mother of innovation. The principle is as old as time. Adversity refines those who refuse surrender. It is nature's unseen mentorship. Affirm daily, "Every obstacle in my path is now a servant of my growth." Say it aloud until its rhythm enters your blood. You will begin to feel a strange calm where others feel despair. That calm is power under command. It is the signal of the mind that has learned reversal. The world recognizes it instinctively. Employers trust it. Investors sense it. Friends admire it. The man of calm confidence becomes the axis around which events turn. You will also notice that opposition from others diminishes. The critic, once eager to wound, will begin speaking more softly. The skeptic will seek your counsel. Even enemies will unknowingly serve your purpose. For law rearranges not only conditions, but people to accommodate the man who has mastered reversal. Let me remind you of Ford once more. His genius was not mechanical, it was mental. He saw opposition as raw material. Ridicule became motivation. Scarcity became challenge. Failure became refinement. The same energy that could have crushed him built his empire. When asked about defeat, he said, "There is no man living who isn't capable of doing more than he thinks he can." That sentence is the essence of reversal. Understand this: the impossible bends not because conditions change, but because your interpretation does. Reality is obedient to consciousness. When you reverse your mental polarity from against to for, from problem to principle, the outer world reorganizes accordingly. The law is blind to words but alert to vibration. It feels direction, not description. Practice this daily. When fatigue comes, reverse it into gratitude for work. When uncertainty arises, reverse it into curiosity for discovery. When loss appears, reverse it into lesson for gain. In every reversal, you reclaim energy once wasted on complaint. Power unused becomes power regained. There will come a day when adversity no longer intimidates you. You will look at difficulty and feel almost affection for it. You will know it has no sting except that which your doubt supplies. This is true freedom, the ability to face resistance without inner contraction. The man who can do this cannot be defeated because his very defeats feed him. Let us use a final example, the diamond again. Under the weight of earth, the carbon endures unimaginable pressure for ages. It cannot escape, so it yields differently. It transforms. When finally unearthed, it emerges unbreakable, valued beyond measure. The diamond is not separate from the coal. It is coal that learned reversal. So too are you not separate from greatness. You are greatness compressed, awaiting transformation through pressure accepted. When you reach this realization, fear becomes ally. You will see that life never aimed to harm you. It only sought to teach you how to use its power correctly. What once felt like burden becomes instruction. The impossible itself becomes proof of what you are now ready to command. In the presence of such mastery, others sense safety. They cannot explain it, but they feel it. You become the calm center in every storm, the one men consult when uncertainty surrounds them.
This is the visible sign of internal law, composure under chaos. The man who controls his own polarity controls the atmosphere of entire rooms. Let the final word of this law be simplicity. Nothing is ever purely negative or positive. It is only energy awaiting assignment. Assign it wisely. Reverse it consciously. Use every circumstance as fuel, and you will discover what I now tell you as truth. The impossible begins to bow the moment resistance becomes your resource. The law of reversal is not miracle. It is mastery. And once mastered, you will never again fear adversity, for you will know that every force opposing you can, with a single turn of thought, be made to serve you. There is a formula that governs every miracle, though few ever discover it. Thought is the substance, emotion the heat, and purpose the binding agent. When these three unite under discipline, the reaction is creation itself. All success, all genius, all wealth are chemical results of mind correctly combined. Most men mix their ingredients carelessly and call the outcome fate. The mind is the grand laboratory of the universe. Within it, invisible elements, desire, faith, imagination, and will await the hand of the chemist. If he combines them in right proportion, they fuse into power. If he leaves them scattered, they neutralize one another. Thus, the weak man is not short of thought. He is short of arrangement. His desires burn in one corner, his fears in another, and his faith evaporates between them. Imagine the laboratory of a true thinker. His thoughts are organized instruments. His emotions are flames under control. His will is the crucible. He knows that all achievement begins as a reaction between what he believes and what he feels. He treats thought not as fancy, but as formula. And because his mind obeys his direction, reality becomes his assistant, shaping matter to match mental law. This is what I call mental chemistry. It is not mysticism, but mechanism. Every creative act in history follows the same sequence. A definite idea mixed with burning desire, heated by emotion, and crystallized through repetition. You may call this inspiration. I call it law under fire. Inspiration is merely organized combustion. The mind that learns to control its fires becomes a forge of miracles. Andrew Carnegie once told me that he owed his fortune not to steel, but to chemistry, mental chemistry. He combined desire to serve mankind with faith in abundance until those two elements exploded into leadership. His magnetism attracted other great minds who felt his inner power before they saw his outer success. Men like Schwab and Frick became extensions of his reaction. His belief fused them into a single creative current. Faith, you see, is the catalyst of all creation. Without faith, thought remains cold metal. With faith, it glows. Emotion is the heat that melts resistance. Purpose is the mold into which it flows. You may have all three, but in wrong proportion, and still your efforts will fail. Excess emotion without purpose burns wild. Purpose without faith chills the mixture. The successful mind knows balance, as the skilled chemist knows temperature. Do not mistake this process for chance. The world's greatest fortunes were not accidents. They were equations solved through persistence. Repetition adds heat until belief ignites. Each affirmation, each vision, each prayer repeated with conviction increases inner temperature. Then, at a certain point, matter yields and rearranges. To the untrained, this appears miraculous. To the student of law, it is expected. Think of your dominant desire as raw ore. Alone it has potential, but no polish. Faith is the fire that refines it, removing impurities of doubt and fear. Purpose shapes it into definite form. Repetition hammers it until it shines. And once polished, it becomes magnet, drawing to itself other materials of like quality. This is the scientific foundation of attraction. Like attracts like because vibration seeks harmony. When your thought burns with pure desire and clear intent, it radiates a magnetic field others feel instantly. They call it charisma, but it is chemistry. Opportunities rush toward it. Ideas align with it. Resources bend to it. The man whose mental chemistry is balanced no longer pursues success. It begins pursuing him. Dr. Frank Gunsaulus demonstrated this principle beautifully. He dreamed of building a college for youth, but had no money. For weeks, he meditated upon his vision until his mind caught fire with certainty. One Sunday morning, he stood before his congregation and declared, "I will build $1 million college." The words were his explosion point. Within a week, a wealthy man offered the entire sum. His mental reaction had reached ignition. The difference between dreamers and creators lies here. The dreamer fantasizes without temperature. His desire is tepid. The creator thinks with heat and form. He pictures the finished product, feels it as already real, and holds that image until law solidifies it. When faith and feeling reach fusion, the impossible melts into obedience. Most people scatter their energies like unmeasured ingredients. They desire wealth but stir in fear. They add imagination but dilute it with doubt. They stir again, then abandon the mixture halfway through. The result is neither success nor peace, but confusion. The mind cannot produce gold from chaos. The chemist must measure every element with precision. If you would create the impossible, discipline your laboratory. Begin each morning by defining your dominant purpose. Write it, see it, feel it. Then feed it emotion, not hysteria, but conviction. Speak it aloud with calm fire. At night, review it again. This repetition is the stirring of the mixture. The more rhythm you apply, the stronger the reaction becomes. Remember that the subconscious mind is the furnace. It does not reason. It responds. When fed the same formula day after day, it begins producing results automatically. Your role is not to wonder how, but to maintain temperature. When doubt enters, the fire cools. When faith returns, it reignites. Persistence keeps the flame constant until substance transforms. Definiteness is the difference between boiling water and lukewarm vapor. At one point, nothing seems to change. Then suddenly steam appears and power is born. So it is with belief. For months you may see no evidence, but the reaction builds unseen. Then in a moment opportunity bursts forth and the world calls it luck. But it was law reaching critical point. Understand also that the purity of your motive affects the strength of your reaction. Greed burns unstable. Gratitude burns steady. When your desire includes benefit for others, infinite intelligence adds its own energy to your process. The universe loves circulation. What you wish to receive, you must plan to distribute. This converts selfish heat into divine fire. Edison used this principle often. He would work until exhaustion, then lie down with a definite question in mind. In that drowsy state, his conscious resistance faded, allowing subconscious chemistry to continue the experiment. Often he awoke with the answer fully formed. The night mind is a silent assistant in the laboratory of genius. If you trust it, it refines while you rest. When you understand mental chemistry, you cease fearing failure, for failure is merely incomplete reaction. If the mixture cools too soon, heat it again with faith. If purpose becomes vague, refine it with clarity. There are no lost causes, only experiments stopped too early. Every setback is a request from law for more precision. Let us conduct a small exercise. Choose one desire, clear, definite, measurable. Write beneath it 3 columns, thought, emotion, and purpose. Under thought, list the image of success. Under emotion, write the feelings of certainty and gratitude. Under purpose, write how this success will serve others. Read this daily with feeling until the elements blend. When harmony arrives, reaction begins. You will know the process is active when new ideas arrive uninvited. Coincidences will increase. People will appear who share your vibration. You will feel inner excitement without anxiety, heat without smoke. This is the signature of law in motion. Do not rush it. Let the chemistry finish its course. Keep your mind clean of conflicting mixtures. Avoid gossip, complaint, and fear. They are chemical poisons. They corrode the reaction, reducing its potency. Surround yourself with those whose words uplift, whose faith strengthens. Mental companionship is atmosphere for your laboratory. Choose it with care. When fatigue or discouragement strikes, recall that all fire requires rest. Even the furnace cools to maintain balance. Withdraw into silence, not doubt. Gratitude restores temperature faster than effort. Speak softly to yourself. My mind now fuses faith and purpose into power. The reaction of success is complete. Let this affirmation seal your process each night. You will find as your chemistry matures that material wealth becomes only one expression of its power. Peace, intuition, influence, these two are compounds of the same reaction. When faith becomes natural, everything you touch transforms. The true alchemist turns circumstance into opportunity, time into treasure, vision into fact. There is no mystery left once you understand the law. Thought directs, emotion energizes, purpose stabilizes. These three, united under repetition, create reality. Nothing more is needed. The impossible is merely the state before the reaction completes. So when you next look upon a challenge, do not call it insurmountable. Call it unrefined. When you feel impatience, remind yourself that all elements must first boil before blending. Hold steady. Add faith, add gratitude. Stir with repetition, and watch as matter begins to yield. Every great inventor, artist, and leader followed this law, whether he named it or not. You are no different from them. The same furnace burns within you. The same elements await your command. The difference lies only in definiteness. Decide, and you ignite. Persist, and you transmute. Believe, and you create. To master mental chemistry is to become co-worker with infinite intelligence. The universe ceases to oppose you. It becomes your laboratory assistant. You give formula. It supplies substance. You determine pattern. It obeys. As you walk through life with this knowledge, others will sense a difference they cannot explain. They will feel confidence radiating from you, though you speak few words. They will trust your ideas without knowing why. That is the aura of a balanced reaction. Your thought has fused with faith so completely that its vibration touches all who come near. Let the final lesson of this science be clear. The impossible is not conquered by struggle, but by combination. Fuse your desire with service, your faith with purpose, your imagination with repetition. Then stand back and watch as the invisible begins to crystallize before your eyes. For when the mind's chemistry reaches harmony, even the laws of the universe become obedient to its command. Reality is not what happens to you, it is what you happen to believe. Every man lives inside the reflection of his most frequent thought. The timid see chaos because chaos exists in them. The confident walk through the same world and see order. The world is not independent, it is obedient. What you hold as fact becomes law to life itself, and it cannot argue. The average man imagines reality as solid, fixed, and external. He believes his fortune depends upon markets, superiors, or fate. Yet all these are shadows cast by consciousness. The universe is a mirror, not a master. It reflects faithfully, but never commands. You cannot escape its reflection, but you can control its image by mastering what stands before the mirror, your thought. Most people live as leaves in the wind, blown by circumstance, yet blaming chance. They fail to see that their shifting moods create shifting worlds. A man angry at breakfast meets hostility by noon. A man who begins his day with gratitude draws kindness everywhere. Reality bends to emotional temperature. The law does not punish. It synchronizes. You will never meet anything outside the vibration you carry within. The principle is simple yet absolute. The outer,
must follow the inner. If you wish to change the scene, change the projector. When faith becomes constant, reality becomes consistent. The drifter experiences turbulence because his thought drifts. The master experiences order because his thought holds form. The world is only as stable as the mind that observes it. When I studied the habits of great men, I found this secret repeated under many disguises. Edison spoke of thinking on wavelength. Carnegie called it mental atmosphere. Ford named it settled belief. Each was describing the same law, the power of controlled attention to command the behavior of events. To them, chance was simply law not yet understood. Imagine holding a magnifying glass over paper. The scattered sunlight warms it faintly. But when focus narrows, fire appears. So it is with attention. Scattered thought warms desire without results. Concentrated thought ignites purpose into creation. Most men never learn this focus. They complain of lack while splitting their energy among fear, gossip, and doubt. The mind must become lens, not lantern. Controlled reality begins with controlled attention. You must learn to hold one image steadily until it hardens into fact. Every great achievement was once an obsession, tended daily by unwavering thought. The builder sees the cathedral complete while others see only stone. The inventor hears music in the hum of wires while others hear noise. The mind that maintains image commands substance to obey it. There is an ancient law that declares, as within, so without. It is not poetry, it is precision. The inner state organizes the outer world to match it. You cannot experience peace while harboring turmoil, nor prosperity while thinking poverty. Law is impartial. It returns exactly what you emit. The prayer of the fearful is as effective as that of the faithful, for both are definite. Let us illustrate. A salesman plagued by scarcity once came to me for counsel. His clients, he said, were tight-fisted, his territory hopeless. I instructed him to reverse his image, to walk, speak, and think as though abundance surrounded him. But that feels false, he said. Then remain poor, I replied, for poverty is the truth you have chosen. Within 3 months, his income doubled. Reality simply followed new command. Chance does not exist. What men call luck is law in disguise. Each event answers an invisible decree issued by thought long before. The gambler wins not by fortune, but by expectation. The fearful lose because they rehearse loss. Reality does not choose, it reflects. The mirror cannot smile until you do. To control reality, you must first refuse reaction. The moment you react to appearance, you enslave yourself to it. When difficulty arises, remain still inside. Do not curse it nor fear it. Hold to the image of order. Soon circumstances rearrange. The external storm cannot survive inner calm. Chaos is fuel for the steady mind. The wind cannot uproot what is deeply rooted. Abraham Lincoln proved this in the crucible of war. While his nation tore itself apart, his mind remained whole. In letters, he wrote of a quiet trust that the right will prevail. That trust was not hope, it was control. His serenity calmed generals, comforted citizens, and eventually subdued conflict itself. The outer division mirrored an inner unity. His certainty became the republic's compass. Controlled reality requires daily discipline. Each morning, write one clear command for the universe to obey. It might read, "Today, every contact leads toward prosperity." Read it slowly, feel it deeply, believe it fully. The subconscious accepts tone over words. Then through the day, guard that vibration as a watchman guards a flame. The moment doubt whispers, repeat your command silently until peace returns. Do not confuse control with strain. Effort born of fear disrupts creation. True control is quiet, like gravity, unseen but constant. The oak does not strain to hold its shape. It simply remains what it is.
The man who knows his law exerts no tension. He walks through obstacles as though they were made of mist, because inwardly he knows they are. This mastery of perception changes how others perceive you. They begin to sense stability in your presence, as if the air itself grows orderly around you. Employers feel it and promote you. Partners feel it and trust you. Friends feel it and confide in you. People are drawn to certainty as ships to harbor. The world pays tribute to the man who commands his inner weather. Every environment eventually conforms to its most definite mind. If you enter a room filled with confusion and maintain composure, soon the room calms. If you remain anxious, chaos intensifies. The law of vibration knows no neutrality. You are always influencing or being influenced. Choose to be cause, not effect. Hold your tone of faith longer than others hold their tone of fear, and the balance tilts to your favor. When doubt tempts you, recall this truth. Reality is delayed reaction, not independent force. What you feel today is harvest of what you thought yesterday. Change seed, and future soil obeys. Nothing appears instantly except belief. Everything else follows in orderly sequence. Patience is faith stretched across time. A mind ruled by emotion cannot control reality. Emotion must serve belief, not govern it. If you are joyful, let joy strengthen conviction. If sorrowful, let it purify attachment. But never allow emotion to steer attention. The captain who abandons the helm to the waves never reaches shore. Hold your course calmly, even through storms. The sea yields to steady direction. The great leaders of commerce and creation all shared one invisible habit. They spoke to their world as though it were listening, and it was. Carnegie addressed opportunity as living partner. Edison ordered his inventions to reveal themselves. They did not hope, they commanded. The tone of certainty distinguishes master from seeker. The world senses tone more than language. There is no need to persuade others of your power. Persuasion wastes energy. Simply embody it. Silent confidence is louder than speeches. The tree does not argue, it will grow. It grows. The sun does not promise to rise, it rises. The man who knows the law no longer explains it. His results explain for him. Control reality through being, not convincing. Let this exercise anchor the principle. Each morning, stand before a mirror. Look directly into your reflection until the mind stills. Then speak calmly. My world obeys my thought, for my thought is law. Repeat until you feel alignment, not doubt. This is not arrogance, it is accuracy. You are reminding consciousness of its duty. Notice how your behavior shifts when you assume command. Your walk gains weight, your voice slows, your eyes steady. You become deliberate in action, measured in response. This composure is not learned performance. It is natural outcome of inner control. The world interprets it as authority and yields without contest. The illusion of luck dissolves once you live by law. Nothing arrives uninvited. Every coincidence is response to inner signal. Send signal of faith, receive event of success. Send signal of fear, receive delay and defeat. The subconscious mind is transmitter, reality is receiver. Tune your frequency daily through definite thought, and the outer airwaves carry your message faithfully. Beware of drift. A single day of careless worry can undo a week of constructive command. The law works continuously. It does not rest because you forgot. Guard the gate of thought as you would treasure vault. Let no idle pessimism enter. Idle words plant active weeds. Every phrase shapes atmosphere. Speak only that which you intend to experience. Controlled reality is not denial of fact, but dominion over interpretation. You do not pretend rain is sunshine. You decide that rain serves purpose. The wise man thanks both storm and calm, for both fulfill law. To the untrained, this appears blindness. To the initiate, it is clarity. He sees cause where others see chaos. Understand this profound secret. There are no neutral thoughts. Each one contributes to creation or confusion. Control does not mean repression, it means direction. The river need not fight its banks, it follows them. Likewise, thought flows strongest when guided by purpose. Definite purpose is the channel through which all energy moves safely toward achievement. When faith becomes steady, fear grows weak. Fear thrives on motion. It dies in stillness. Each time you refuse reaction, you starve it. Each time you choose calm interpretation, you feed faith. Gradually, fear forgets your name. Then, for the first time, you taste freedom, the knowledge that nothing outside you can dictate your inner state. Your surroundings will transform slowly at first, then rapidly, then overwhelmingly. Friends may call it miracle. You will know it as mathematics. Controlled thought accumulates like compound interest. One calm decision builds upon another until fortune multiplies. The world pays dividends to mental order. You are no longer victim of reality. You are its designer. Write daily on your heart, "My reality obeys my thought, for my thought is definite law." Let this be your silent prayer, your unspoken contract with the infinite. And when doubt whispers, remember that mirrors do not lead, they follow. The reflection cannot resist its image. In the end, mastery is not reaction to life, but command of vibration. When your mind emits harmony, life plays in tune. You cease fighting appearances because you know appearances cannot fight you. The impossible dissolves, the improbable yields. Reality itself becomes clay in your hands, responsive, obedient, faithful. From that moment forward, you no longer live in the world. You live through it. You are no longer its subject, but its author. And every word you write upon the screen of thought becomes, by the silent obedience of law, the story the world must read. There is a difference between wishing for success and being the kind of man who success recognizes. The universe does not deliver rewards to desire, it delivers them to identity. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Until your thought, feeling, and conduct harmonize with the image of the man who already possesses his aim, your results will continue to match the smaller self you refuse to outgrow. Every man carries within him an invisible title, one he repeats to himself when no one listens. It may be struggler, victim, average, or unlucky. The world, being obedient to vibration, accepts the title as truth and acts accordingly. If you secretly name yourself small, opportunity will not recognize you when it passes by. But if you call yourself master, creator, distributor of power, the law aligns the stage to fit that role. Identity is the magnet of all experience. Each thought you hold with emotion becomes a strand in your invisible field, drawing to you people and events of similar charge. You may believe you are choosing your surroundings, but in truth, they are answering your unspoken definition. A man cannot escape the likeness he carries in consciousness. To change condition, change identity. To change identity, change belief. The subconscious mind responds not to effort, but to assumption. You cannot beg it to make you wealthy. You must assume the position of wealth inwardly until it becomes natural. Pretending deceives no one, least of all the infinite. But assuming declares truth before evidence, and truth once declared insists on proof. Faith is the bridge from imagination to matter. It acts as if long before it sees. Edwin C. Barnes understood this when he stepped off a freight train in New Jersey with dust on his coat and pennies in his pocket. He did not say, "I will try to work for Edison." He said, "I have come to become Edison's partner." Those words were not fantasy. They were identity. For years he carried that self-image so faithfully that his environment had no choice but to arrange itself in agreement. When opportunity appeared, it recognized him instantly. To act as though you already possess what you desire is not arrogance. It is alignment. The soil does not apologize for bearing fruit, it simply fulfills law. Likewise, you must think, speak, and conduct yourself as though success were already a settled fact. The vibration of certainty organizes the unseen forces of circumstance more efficiently than years of struggle. The man who knows his worth need not announce it. His confidence becomes atmosphere. Pretending differs from assuming as noise differs from music. Pretending seeks approval. Assuming commands respect. The pretender shouts his vision, hoping to convince himself. The believer whispers it inwardly until it grows louder than the world. Pretending imitates. Assuming creates. The moment you assume the inner attitude of mastery, your subconscious begins adjusting thought, habit, and emotion to fit it. This transformation begins quietly. You wake one morning to find fear losing its vocabulary. You speak slower, move deliberate, listen longer. You begin expecting cooperation rather than resistance. Others notice this shift without understanding it. They call it charisma, but it is simply congruence. Your inner image now matches your outer expression. The divided self has united. Observe the law at work in nature. The magnet does not chase the needle, it draws it. Its power lies in invisible identity, the constant field it emits. Likewise, your mind radiates an unseen influence that gathers conditions of its own kind. The man who complains of lack does not realize he is proclaiming it magnetically. Each word of discouragement is an instruction to law to maintain poverty. Speak only from abundance, and abundance must obey. Andrew Carnegie embodied this principle in grand measure. He called himself not collector, but distributor of wealth. He assumed stewardship long before the billions arrived. Because he saw himself as channel rather than container, money flowed to and through him effortlessly. His inner name, organizer of men, became reality. Others felt that authority and assembled around him as metal filings around a magnet. Identity is not invented, it is remembered. Beneath fear and habit lies the blueprint of your divine potential. Every definite desire is a fragment of that memory trying to return to awareness. You are never asked to become something unnatural, only to remember what law intended you to be. When you strip away self-doubt and speak from certainty, you are not pretending. You are remembering your original self. Exercise this truth daily. Sit in silence and ask, who must I be to deserve the results I seek? Then answer not with words, but with posture, tone, and feeling. Let your shoulders rise, your breathing steady, your voice deepen. Feel the composure of a man who already commands his affairs. Hold that state for several minutes until it feels less like imagination and more like recollection. Each repetition hardens it into identity. You may feel resistance at first. Old habits will whisper that this confidence is false. Ignore them. They are the echoes of yesterday protesting their extinction. Law does not obey the past. It obeys persistence. Each night you reaffirm the new self, and each morning the world adjusts slightly to accommodate him. Gradually, the identity once forced becomes natural. The impossible becomes obvious. Every word you speak about yourself is prophecy. When you say, I am tired, poor, unlucky, you are declaring identity to infinite intelligence. It does not question, it executes. Replace such speech with, I am strong, capable, and guided. Speak these not as hopes, but as laws. The subconscious responds not to requests, but to declarations. It builds circumstance to confirm your repeated assertions. As identity strengthens, the faces around you change. Weak companionship fades, new alliances appear. You attract minds that match your frequency. Some will call it coincidence. You will recognize it as magnetic order. People are instruments played by vibration. They cannot help but respond to dominant tone. The clearer your identity, the more harmonious your company. Remember, however, that assumption without action is incomplete. Thought and behavior must march in rhythm. If you call yourself successful but act with hesitation, the vibration conflicts. Law cannot obey confusion. Every decision must echo your new self-image. The man who thinks himself decisive acts swiftly. The man who believes himself prosperous walks generously. Action is belief embodied. Practice daily integrity of tone. If you imagine yourself leader, speak less and listen more. If you see yourself wealthy, give more freely. If you feel yourself wise, act patiently. The subconscious reads gesture more fluently than speech. By living your new title before it becomes visible, you invite reality to catch up. Let us consider a practical example. A timid clerk desired promotion but doubted his worth. I instructed him to imagine himself as department head each night before sleep, seeing himself giving orders, managing affairs with calm authority. Within months, opportunity arose when the actual manager resigned. His superiors said, "We always saw leadership in you." They had seen nothing until he began to radiate what he rehearsed. This law does not discriminate between rich and poor, educated and unlearned. The peasant who assumes dignity walks as confidently as the prince. The principle rests on vibration, not status. Life answers identity, not ancestry. You may begin in obscurity and end in glory if your inner name remains unwavering. Let these words sink deeply. The outer world cannot exceed the boundaries of your self-concept. When you enlarge your idea of who you are, the horizon of possibility expands accordingly. Your income, relationships, and opportunities rise to meet your belief and no further. To lift life, lift identity. To become magnetic, believe you already are. Affirm nightly before rest. I now think, speak, and act as the man who has already achieved his desire. Let emotion color the words. Picture yourself moving through tomorrow with calm assurance. Do not visualize possessions alone. Visualize the composure that commands them. Wealth without identity decays. Identity without wealth creates it anew. In time, others will respond to your unspoken authority. Strangers will greet you respectfully without knowing why. Negotiations will tilt silently in your favor. Even challenges will approach you more gently. The world recognizes its masters not by title, but by tone. The invisible becomes visible through attitude. There will come a day when you no longer affirm your worth, you will simply live it. Desire will quiet, replaced by direction. Effort will soften, replaced by certainty. You will notice that things once chased now appear of their own accord. The magnet no longer hunts metal. It attracts naturally. This is the maturity of belief. Be mindful never to revert to the smaller self once mastery begins. The temptation of comfort whispers louder than the call of greatness. Continue expanding identity through gratitude and service. The magnet that gives freely never loses power. It multiplies. Gratitude anchors growth by reminding you of the source, infinite intelligence working through you. You will know the law has completed its work when peace replaces pursuit. The outer world becomes mirror, not battlefield. You cease competing and begin creating. At that level, wealth, influence, and love flow effortlessly because they recognize their own vibration in you. You have become what you once sought. So let this be your conclusion. Identity is destiny. Define yourself deliberately, live that definition faithfully, and the impossible will seek you out as metal to magnet. For the world does not reward the man who wishes. It rewards the man who remembers who he already is. All creation moves in rhythm. There is a pulse behind every success, a silent alternation between expansion and rest. The seasons teach it, the tides mirror it, and every heartbeat proclaims it. Yet most men, impatient or fearful, break rhythm. They rush when they should trust, and they rest when they should rise. To master life, one must learn to move with the rhythm of infinite intelligence, not against it. This rhythm is the music of law. Every desire begins as inhalation, a drawing inward of inspiration.
and must be followed by exhalation, action, release, completion. The man who clings to thought without movement suffocates his dream. The man who acts without reflection scatters his energy in confusion. Harmony arises only when thinking and doing, believing and allowing beat in one tempo. The universe breathes through you. When you are silent and receptive, you align with its inhale. When you act decisively, you become its exhale. In that balance lies power. The worker who labors without pause burns out his faith. The dreamer who waits endlessly dulls his vision. The wise man alternates between effort and surrender, holding faith constant through both. Most failure stems from violation of rhythm. Men demand harvest while the seed is still in soil, then despair when fruit delays. Others sow carelessly, then abandon the field before growth begins. The impatient dig up their seeds each morning to check progress. The faithful water them quietly and sleep in peace. Law works in cycles, not chaos. What you plant will appear when its season arrives, not when your anxiety commands it. Edison mastered this balance. He worked until exhaustion, then rested deliberately, knowing that ideas needed gestation. Often, when his mind surrendered to fatigue, solutions appeared upon waking. He did not force discovery, he invited it. His confidence in law was so absolute that his rest became continuation of labor. He trusted rhythm to complete what reason began. Faith, therefore, is not passive belief. It is rhythmic cooperation with the unseen. You cannot force the infinite. You can only join its cadence. When you move with it, progress feels effortless. When you oppose it, every step multiplies friction. The current of creation flows constantly toward fulfillment. Your part is to keep stroke with it through calm expectation, not panic. To act in harmony with divine rhythm is to live in continual right timing. Ideas arrive when ready. Doors open when approached without haste. The hurried man sees only resistance. The poised man senses opportunity. There is a secret pulse beneath success that only the still can hear. Listen daily in silence, and the rhythm will reveal itself. Every great composer, poet, and inventor has obeyed this rhythm. They felt when to press forward and when to pause, when to labor, and when to leave the work to unseen intelligence. You, too, must learn this music. Begin by observing your natural flow, when your thoughts are clearest, when your body is strongest. Work during expansion, rest during contraction. Do not condemn the lull. It is preparation for the next surge. The law of rhythm governs even emotion. Joy expands, sorrow contracts. Both are necessary. When you resist sorrow, it deepens. When you allow it, it passes. Emotion, like tide, purifies through movement. Let every feeling rise and recede in its time, but never lose faith in the returning wave of strength. You are part of an infinite heartbeat. Rise with it, fall with it, but remain aware of its constancy. Impatience is the sin against rhythm. The impatient man digs wells in every direction and dies of thirst beside half-dug holes. The master commits to one aim, follows it faithfully through each season, planting, watering, resting, harvesting, without panic during silence. He knows the field is alive even when it appears barren. The rhythm of infinite mind also governs inspiration. Ideas come in intervals, not torrents. After every revelation, there must be assimilation. Men who chase constant stimulation drain their inner reserves. Reflection renews the spark. The great creators withdraw to refill. Their silence is not emptiness, but condensation of future power. Remember, law never hurries, yet never delays. The sun does not rush to rise. The seed does not skip germination. Yet both arrive precisely when they should. The universe wastes no motion. The wise man imitates it, trimming from his life all unnecessary effort. He does not confuse activity with accomplishment. His rest is as productive as his work, because both align with timing. If you would live by this principle, set order to your day. Begin with stillness, move into action, end with gratitude. Allow mind to breathe. Inhale inspiration through reading or contemplation. Exhale it through expression or service. This alternation maintains equilibrium. Chaos enters when intake exceeds output or output exceeds intake. Balance is mastery. A simple exercise can attune you to this rhythm. Each night, as you lie in bed, breathe slowly and say within, "The law of rhythm governs my life. I move when moved. I rest when guided. Infinite intelligence never errs." Repeat until mind grows quiet. Sleep will then serve as union with the universal heartbeat. Upon waking, you will feel timed with unseen order. Observe how faith manifests through rhythm. When you trust timing, anxiety vanishes. You stop clutching at outcomes and begin flowing toward them. Your demeanor changes. You appear calm, certain, unhurried. Others sense this peace and mirror it. You become conductor of invisible orchestra. Your confidence sets the tempo for every circumstance. There is power in delay if you understand it. Many believe a dream denied is dream denied forever, but delay often protects. It allows refinement, alignment, and maturity. A wish granted too soon destroys. A wish granted at perfect time multiplies. When law pauses, it is polishing your capacity to hold what you requested. Accept the pause as blessing disguised. The rhythm of infinite mind also governs prosperity. Wealth flows in cycles of circulation, earning, saving, giving, receiving. Hold too tightly and the current stagnates. Give too wildly and the current thins. Balance generosity with order, faith with wisdom. Those who follow this rhythm never fear shortage, for they know every outflow guarantees an inflow by the same law. Notice the rhythm in speech itself. The orator who pauses commands more attention than the one who rushes. Silence is half of eloquence. So too in creation, pauses give power. Between affirmations, rest in certainty. Let the silence confirm your command. The man who can wait without weakening already owns what he desires. When your life harmonizes with universal rhythm, even obstacles become cues. Delay says, prepare. Difficulty says, refine. Success says, serve. Each stage has its tempo, and the wise dancer moves accordingly. The fool resists and stumbles, blaming fate for his own discord. The infinite mind has never lost a beat. You may falter, but the rhythm remains. The moment you realign, through gratitude, stillness, or renewed faith, you feel the current carry you again. Progress resumes, not from the beginning, but from advancement, disguised as rest. Imagine this rhythm as a vast ocean current. You are the vessel upon it. You cannot command the tide, but you can adjust your sail. When wind fails, rest. When wind returns, move swiftly. The sea favors those who trust its rhythm. To fight it is exhaustion. To follow it is arrival. Abraham Lincoln again proved mastery of timing. During the darkest hours of war, when his advisors demanded immediate action, he waited for intuition. "I shall prepare," he said, "and perhaps my time will come." It did. His patience was not hesitation. It was rhythm. His leadership aligned with law's unfolding, not with fear's urgency. The impatient see the wise as slow. The wise see the impatient as blind. Progress measured by panic is illusion. True advancement follows cadence. Even lightning obeys rhythm. Silence, build-up, release, illumination. So does genius, so must you. Affirm often, "I work in harmony with divine rhythm. My timing is perfect because law never errs." Speak it until the words beat like a drum within you, then act from calm impulse, never compulsion. You will find yourself meeting the right people at right hour, arriving at appointments by invisible design. Synchronicity is rhythm made visible. When rhythm governs, results feel inevitable. You cease forcing outcomes and begin expecting them. Others will remark on your good luck. You will smile, knowing it is not luck but law.
They will hurry, exhaust, and stumble while you move in quiet certainty, accomplishing twice as much with half the strain. In the presence of one who keeps rhythm with the infinite, all else slows to match. His calm spreads like fragrance. He need not persuade or command. His poise convinces the nervous and strengthens the weary. That is the true mark of spiritual authority, composure rooted in law. If you lose rhythm, return to gratitude. Gratitude is the reset of vibration. It instantly tunes your heart to the frequency of divine order. Each sincere thank you synchronizes thought with abundance. There is no discord where appreciation dwells. Remember, nothing in this universe moves continuously upward. Even the heartbeat dips between beats. The downward curve is not failure. It is foundation for rise. Accept contraction as natural prelude to expansion. The wise man thanks both ascent and descent for both sustained motion. When your consciousness aligns with this eternal rhythm, you feel an assurance no chaos can shake. The future no longer frightens you, for you sense its pattern beneath appearance. You work steadily, rest deeply, give freely, receive gratefully. You have become instrument of infinite mind playing its own harmony. And in that state, impossibility disappears altogether, for nothing is impossible to rhythm perfectly kept. You have become both musician and music, dancer and dance, creator and creation, moving as one with the law that never errs, the rhythm that never ends. There is no act, no thought, no gesture of faith that goes unrewarded. Every seed planted in consciousness must bring forth its own kind. The law of infinite compensation stands as the most exact and merciful of all universal laws. It neither favors nor forgets. It multiplies according to the intention behind every act. What you give, through service, thought, emotion, or word, returns to you multiplied, pressed down, and overflowing. Most men live blind to this law. They imagine life unjust because they see only fragments of its operation. They give once and expect instant harvest. They labor for a week and complain when gold does not appear. They forget that nature pays on time, not on demand. Compensation is precise but patient. It takes into account every detail, every motive, every repetition. Its mathematics never fail, yet its timing follows rhythm, not restlessness. The world of commerce reflects this law imperfectly through wages and exchange, but true wealth flows from invisible service. Every sincere effort to improve another's life adds unseen credit to your spiritual account. When the time ripens, this credit manifests as opportunity, favor, health, friendship, or fortune. The man who gives beyond measure can never remain poor, for the universe owes him more than he could possibly spend. F.W. Woolworth began as a clerk who earned little and gave much. He arranged shelves with care, greeted customers with enthusiasm, and suggested improvements, though no one asked. When others worked by the clock, he worked by the law of overplus, doing more than paid for. His faith and generosity transformed his position into ownership. From one small counter, he built an empire of stores. Each act of extra service was seed in the soil of compensation. You cannot cheat this law any more than you can cheat gravity. Every thought of greed, every withheld kindness, every dishonest gesture debits your invisible account. Sooner or later, poverty in spirit reflects as poverty in circumstance. The selfish man believes he hoards gain, yet he hoards loss. His fear of giving closes the channels through which supply returns. He becomes like a clenched fist trying to hold water. He retains nothing. Faith in abundance is the beginning of generosity. The man who trusts that law will return his gifts tenfold, gives freely, joyfully, without anxiety. He knows that every coin released is seed, not sacrifice. He measures wealth not by what he stores, but by what he circulates. Life itself is circulation. Inhale and exhale, sow and reap, give and receive. To interrupt this motion is to invite stagnation. Let us test the principle. Each day for 1 month, find one way to exceed expectation. If you sell, serve more completely than required. If you teach, give one idea beyond the syllabus. If you work in obscurity, perform each task with invisible excellence. Expect no praise. Expect only law's return. Soon, doors once closed will open quietly. People of influence will sense your vibration of surplus and offer you opportunity. Andrew Carnegie called this compound interest of service. He taught his men that every deed done in faith builds invisible momentum that eventually demands physical reward. Many who began sweeping floors under him became executives, not by ambition but by law. They added value until the world had to acknowledge it. Recognition follows contribution as surely as dawn follows night. Beware the counterfeit of giving, giving for applause. The law reads motive, not manner. Service tainted with self-display bears no fruit. The true giver often works unseen, his reward germinating in silence. Like roots beneath the earth, his unseen acts feed the visible tree. In time, others marvel at his success, unaware of the hidden labor that preceded it. To live by infinite compensation is to treat every thought as seed. Speak kindly even to strangers, and that kindness will return from unexpected directions. Express gratitude to one who cannot repay, and life will repay you through another. The law is too vast to be limited to direct channels. It uses every route to balance accounts. You need not trace the path of return. Trust its precision. Every failure, every loss, every disappointment also carries a form of compensation. The blow that humbles pride deposits wisdom. The rejection that closes one door builds patience to open another. No man ever truly loses by faith. Even apparent injustice hides justice in process. The mind trained in this understanding no longer curses misfortune, for it knows misfortune cannot exist under eternal equilibrium. Henry Ford once said that he never regretted a dollar lost in experiment because each failure bought information. That information, multiplied through application, returned millions. This is compensation in motion, the exchange of temporary loss for permanent gain. Life, too, demands tuition for its lessons, but always repays principal with interest to those who learn. Consider generosity not merely as giving money, but as giving thought. Each time you think well of another, you enrich yourself. Each time you wish success to a friend, you magnetize success to your own field. Envy poisons the current of compensation. Admiration purifies it. Replace jealousy with study. Ask not why him, but what law did he obey that I ignore? The answer will reveal opportunity. Let us perform a simple exercise. Before sleep, recall the day's exchanges. Ask, did I give more than I received? Did I add value beyond pay? If yes, rest assured, for law records it. If no, resolve to do better tomorrow. This nightly accounting trains the subconscious to operate by abundance rather than fear. Soon, generosity becomes habit, and prosperity follows habit like shadow follows form. Remember the worker promoted for unseen diligence. His employer, unaware of his exact efforts, felt an impression, an intuition of reliability. Law transmitted the vibration of service through invisible channels. Promotion was not decision of man, but decree of principle. You cannot hide quality. It radiates beyond walls. Fear of exploitation often restrains men from giving. They say, others will take advantage. Yet only the foolish can be exploited. The wise serve knowingly, trusting law, not man, for reward. The dishonest may profit briefly, but compensation never sleeps. Sooner or later, imbalance corrects. The taker's triumph turns to emptiness. The giver's loss turns to surplus. Infinite compensation demands faith during intervals of silence. After sowing, there is delay. The earth must work unseen. Many abandon the law at this point, declaring, "It does not work for me." Yet it is working most when invisible. The moment of harvest belongs only to the patient. Trust the unseen season, and the visible season cannot fail to arrive. As your faith matures, you will perceive compensation operating everywhere. You will see the miser's nervous wealth decaying while the generous man's modest resources expand. You will see kindness returning through strangers, opportunities matching past efforts, timing aligning with past intentions. Life becomes fairer the more you understand it. Affirm daily, every act of service I give multiplies my wealth. I sow only abundance, therefore I reap only abundance. Speak it not as wish, but as statement of law. Feel the gratitude of one who already owns his harvest. Gratitude, like sunlight, accelerates growth. Doubt is frost. Banish it. Soon others will notice change around you. They will call it luck or charm. They will say, everything you touch prospers. You will know it is not magic, but mathematics. You have entered partnership with infinite compensation, whose accounts never err. When you understand this law fully, giving becomes joy. You give to live, not to gain. Service ceases to feel sacrifice. It becomes self-expression. You will realize that you are never giving away, only circulating through a larger body of which you are part. Just as the heart cannot hoard blood without death, the soul cannot hoard wealth without decay. In that realization, fear of shortage dies. You know that what leaves your hand returns multiplied. You no longer measure life by immediate balance, but by eternal rhythm. You see wealth as flow, not possession. Gratitude as income, not expense. And because you think thus, law compensates you infinitely, both in visible fortune and in visible peace. The man who lives by this law walks with quiet confidence. He no longer envies, competes, or begs. He serves, trusts, and receives. He sees each moment as transaction between himself and the infinite, a sacred exchange where every thought carries interest. Others sense his generosity of spirit and are drawn to it. They feel safe in his presence, knowing that no selfishness dwells there. Let this truth conclude the law. The impossible abundance you seek is only law's interest on faith long compounded. Every smile, every kindness, every ounce of honest work adds to your cosmic credit. The universe keeps perfect books, and its payment, though sometimes delayed, is always exact. Give richly of yourself, and the law will make you rich beyond measure. Growth is the divine signature upon all creation. Everything living moves toward enlargement, of form, of function, of understanding. To cease expanding is to invite decline. The mind, like muscle, atrophies in stillness. Wealth, wisdom, influence, all wither when the consciousness that created them refuses to grow beyond its first victory. The law of conscious expansion governs every enduring success. Man was not designed for confinement, but for continual unfolding. Each idea, once realized, must give birth to a greater one. Every achievement calls silently for its successor. The small mind clings to completion. The large mind rejoices in continuation. Infinite intelligence never ends. It evolves, refines, ascends. When you align your thought with that eternal progression, you become co-creator with the divine flow of life itself. Every limitation is merely the perimeter of old belief. To expand is to step beyond that line and declare, there is more. The universe instantly responds with proof. The farmer who tills 1 acre discovers the capacity for 10. The thinker who masters one principle discovers 10,000 applications. There is no stagnation in nature, only obedience to the next degree of growth. Abraham Lincoln began life in a log cabin, but his mind outgrew its walls long before his body left them. Each new hardship enlarged his compassion. Each failure deepened his faith. When destiny summoned him to lead a divided nation, he had already become too vast in spirit to serve only himself. His rise was not miracle, it was law. Consciousness expanded until circumstances had no choice but to match it. Expansion begins within before it appears without.
You cannot hold a great fortune in a small mind, nor wield influence with narrow vision. The container must grow to fit the content. Wealth demands maturity of thought. Power demands proportion of purpose. The man who prays for more must first prove himself faithful with what he has. Only through wise use of the small can he attract the large. This is the law of larger use. When you give your best to present duty, you prepare the soil for greater responsibility. Every act done with excellence increases capacity. The universe observes through principle, not through emotion. It sees that you can manage more and therefore grants it. The man who neglects today's duty in hope of tomorrow's promotion violates expansion's first rule. Each day ask yourself, am I larger in thought, in patience, in service than yesterday? If not, you are contracting. Progress does not measure by years, but by depth of consciousness. A single day of clear understanding can advance you farther than a decade of aimless labor. Expansion is not speed. It is awareness enlarging its boundaries until impossible becomes inevitable. Do not fear the growing pains of the soul. When vision stretches, comfort resists. Old habits protest the new vibration, much like a cocoon resists the butterfly. Yet pain is proof of progress. The man who feels none has ceased to rise. Welcome discomfort as signal of transformation, for nothing worth becoming comes through ease. Each success you achieve requires a new self to sustain it. Many fall after fortune because they keep thinking as before. They win the outer prize, yet remain inwardly poor. The mind that attracted wealth must evolve into the mind that administers it wisely. Expansion demands continual rebirth. Yesterday's identity cannot carry tomorrow's abundance. Consider the young businessman who treated his single shop as an empire. He dressed neatly, spoke with precision, kept accounts like a magnate. Customers sensed greatness before it was visible. Within years, opportunity enlarged to match his belief. He did not wait for size to think greatly. He thought greatly to become large. The world mirrors your scale of self-concept. Faith, too, must expand. The faith that once moved you to start will not suffice to sustain growth. Each new level requires deeper trust. As income increases, temptation to worry multiplies. The only defense is larger faith. Faith in principle, not in possession. Possessions fluctuate. Law does not. Tie your peace to the eternal and expansion becomes secure. Expansion also demands widening of service. Wealth hoarded contracts the soul. Wealth distributed enlarges it. Andrew Carnegie grew richer as he gave more, for giving is the breath of growth. Each generous act stretches consciousness to include others. The greater the inclusion, the greater the inflow. To live for self alone is to suffocate. To serve humanity is to inhale infinity. Gratitude anchors expansion. Without it, success swells into pride and collapses. Gratitude reminds the soul that it grows not by its own power, but by harmony with divine order. Each thank you opens another gate of increase. Ingratitude closes channels. Humility keeps them open. The grateful man rises quietly yet steadily, while the ungrateful stumbles beneath the weight of what he misuses. Let every challenge become invitation to grow. When difficulty arises, do not ask, why this? But what greater strength is this calling forth in me? Each trial stretches capacity. The oak does not curse the storm, it deepens roots. Likewise, the soul expands beneath pressure. The impossible is merely the next degree of strength demanding birth. Practice conscious enlargement through deliberate thought. Spend a portion of each day imagining yourself performing at higher levels of service, leading with more grace, earning with greater usefulness. Feel the expanded you until it seems natural. The subconscious then adjusts your behavior, and circumstances rise to meet the new stature. Repetition engraves greatness upon the invisible self. Beware of contraction disguised as safety. Many imprison themselves in comfort, calling it peace.
But peace without progress decays into apathy. The flower that refuses to bloom in fear of wind dies unseen. Security is found not in stagnation, but in adaptability. The river remains secure by moving. The stagnant pool breeds disease. The expanding man speaks differently. His words carry breadth. He no longer complains of lack. He asks, "How can I create more?" He no longer envies. He admires. He listens, learns, and leads by example. Others feel uplifted in his presence, for his vision includes their possibilities. Leadership is simply expansion made visible. The law of conscious enlargement also governs imagination. To grow outward, one must first imagine greater inwardly. Imagination is the womb of expansion. Each night before rest, visualize yourself living, giving, thinking from higher order. See yourself surrounded by efficiency, harmony, abundance. Feel gratitude for it as though already true. The subconscious accepts the larger pattern and begins weaving circumstances to match. Expansion thrives on discipline. Chaos cannot grow, it only spreads confusion. Set definite purpose for every increase, why you desire it, whom it shall benefit, how it will serve the greater good. Without direction, expansion collapses into excess. Power without plan becomes destruction. Abundance without aim becomes indulgence. Purpose is the frame that holds expansion upright. Observe how others respond as your consciousness enlarges. They will feel your quiet authority. Opportunities will come seeking you instead of your chasing them. You will appear calm amid urgency, generous amid scarcity, confident amid doubt. People will sense an invisible stature that requires no defense. Expansion announces itself silently through presence. Affirm daily. Each day I expand in wisdom, courage, and service. I am limitless in growth. Speak it with the serenity of one who knows law cannot contradict itself. Every repetition adds another layer to your new dimension. Soon the phrase will feel factual. Your life will prove it so. Remember, expansion is not acquisition. It is expression. You are not gathering new powers. You are releasing those long dormant within. The infinite already resides in you, waiting for recognition. When you act from that awareness, every horizon becomes doorway, every ceiling a floor for the next ascent. Let gratitude close this teaching. Thank the law for unending opportunity. Thank challenges for refinement. Thank success for responsibility. Gratitude completes the circle of expansion by turning achievement into seed once more. The man who gives thanks continues to grow. The one who forgets begins to decline. In the end, the impossible is not a destination, but a milestone. Each time you reach what others call impossible, you stand merely at the entrance of another realm of possibility. Consciousness has no summit, only wider views. The man who never stops expanding becomes a living conduit of infinite intelligence, through whom creation itself continues to evolve. When you live by this rhythm of eternal enlargement, limitation becomes unthinkable. You will look upon the world not as boundary, but as beginning. You will see that every challenge conceals new territory of mind, every dream another expression of the divine. And as you keep expanding in awareness, generosity, and faith, reality will follow, endlessly unfolding, forever reflecting the infinite that you have dared to become. You have now heard the laws that govern the impossible, the law of the impossible mind, the law of reversal, the law of mental chemistry, the law of controlled reality, the law of magnetic identity, the law of rhythm, the law of infinite compensation, and the law of conscious expansion. These laws have entered your subconscious while you rested. They have begun their silent work within you. But laws without daily practice remain dormant. Laws without repetition lose their force. Laws without commands cannot reshape your waking hours. That is why, before this night ends, you must receive something more. 7 sentences. 7 commands so precise, so powerful,
that when spoken each morning, they will anchor every law you have absorbed tonight into your daily reality, but I cannot give them to you carelessly. If I were to hand you the 7 sentences right now, you would not value them. You would skim them, nod politely, and return to the same habits that have held you captive for years. That is why I cannot reveal them at the start. These sentences are not to be read. They are to be absorbed, understood, repeated, and obeyed. Each one carries a principle powerful enough to redirect the course of your days, but only when the mind is prepared to receive it. So remain with me now. Keep your mind open. Keep your spirit receptive. For what comes next will give structure to everything you have learned tonight. The impossible awaits your command, and these 7 sentences will teach you how to speak it into existence.
If I were to hand you the 7 sentences right now, you would not value them. You would skim them, nod politely, and return to the same habits that have held you captive for years. That is why I cannot reveal them at the start. These sentences are not to be read. They are to be absorbed, understood, repeated, and obeyed. Each one carries a principle powerful enough to redirect the course of your days, but only when the mind is prepared to receive it. Hill wrote that the subconscious will not accept commands lightly. It must be softened, opened, awakened. Otherwise, even the strongest words fall on barren soil. That is why you must listen closely from the beginning. For these sentences are not mere ideas. They are tools, weapons, instructions. And if even one is misunderstood or heard casually, the entire chain of power breaks miss 1 minute, and the force of the next will be weakened. Miss 1 sentence, and the entire structure collapses. That is why I urge you, remain with me until the final word. Before you hear these sentences, you must understand the weight of what they will demand from you. They are not meant for a man who drifts, nor for a man who listens half-heartedly while thinking of his troubles. They are meant for a man who is ready to rise, ready to claim mastery over his days, ready to stop hoping and begin directing. You know the difference. You have lived seasons of drift, days where you woke with good intentions and ended the night asking yourself why nothing changed. You have made promises to yourself that dissolve before the sun set. You have told your family that things would get better, but deep down, you feared you were repeating the same empty declarations. That is why these 7 sentences matter. They rebuild the inner authority you have allowed life to erode. They train the mind to obey you instead of overwhelming you. They turn your thoughts into servants instead of tyrants. But they must be spoken correctly, with the right understanding behind them, or they lose their strength entirely. Think of the times when your mind betrayed you, when doubt seized you in the morning before your feet even touched the floor. Think of the nights when you lay awake imagining every possible failure. Think of the moments when your spouse looked at you, concerned, because she could sense you were fading under the weight of your own thoughts. You cannot allow another year of your life to be governed by that voice. 1 year becomes 5, 5 becomes 10, and suddenly a man looks in the mirror and sees someone who spent more time fearing life than directing it. These sentences are the antidote to that fate. They are the correction, but only if you hear them in the right state of mind. Consider what happens if you drift through this message casually. You will hear the first sentence, perhaps admire it, but it will not embed itself into your spirit. You will hear the second sentence while thinking about your responsibilities, and it will slip from your grasp. You will hear the third sentence with half your attention, and it will be lost. This is why I refuse to reveal anything prematurely. You must be prepared. You must know why these sentences work. You must understand the law behind them, how repetition forms identity, how identity shapes decisions, and how decisions carve the very path of your destiny. Without this understanding, the words become decoration, not transformation. Imagine, for a moment, the life you have longed for, days that unfold with calm confidence rather than panic, a household that feels safe and stable because you walk with certainty, children who look at you and see a man who knows where he is going, a partner who no longer fears the storms because she sees the strength in your voice. These 7 sentences can build that life, but imagine the nightmare opposite. Another year of anxiety disguised as busyness. Another year of wasted mornings. Another year of nodding politely while others rise and you remain stuck in the same battles. Another year where your family sees you trying but not transforming. You cannot afford to misuse these sentences. Their power is cumulative. One builds upon the next. If you skip one, the magic of the sequence breaks. If you miss one moment of explanation, you will misunderstand the tone, the emphasis, the spirit in which it must be spoken. This is not the kind of knowledge you rush through. It is the kind you submit to. Let me show you why your life has not changed despite your desire to improve it. It is because your mind has not yet been trained to obey. The world respects the man whose thoughts are unified, whose desires are definite, whose purpose is clear. But you have been sending your mind 1,000 conflicting commands each day. These 7 sentences end that confusion. They bring the mind under direction. They replace chaos with certainty. They train you to speak with authority, not apology. But before I place them in your hands, I must ensure you understand what they will demand of you: consistency, discipline, and unwavering faith in the law. Think of what this means for your standing among those who know you best. Imagine the moment your spouse notices the shift in your speech: stronger, calmer, more certain. Imagine your children watching you rise early, speaking your affirmations with conviction, and absorbing the belief that they too can command their destiny. Imagine how your rivals, your critics, the men who once doubted you, will observe your transformation. They will not understand what changed. They will not know the sentences. They will not hear them, but they will feel your new power. And nothing unsettles a rival more than a man whose mind has become a fortress. But again, this is only possible if you remain with me. For I will reveal these sentences only when your mind is prepared to receive them. If you listen casually, the gift will be wasted. If you drift, you will miss the subtle connection between the words and the law that gives them strength. If you attempt to rush ahead, you will lose everything. So I ask you, listen as if your future were watching you. Listen as though the next few minutes determine the path of the next few decades. For what I am about to give you has the power to shape your mornings, strengthen your will, restore your confidence, and transform the way you speak to yourself every single day. When the time is right, when your mind is steady and your attention is undivided, I will give you the first sentence, then the second, then the third, but not before. For a man must be ready to receive what will reshape his destiny. Remain with me, and I will place in your hands the 7 sentences that can make your life better and better. A man cannot receive a great idea until his mind is softened for it. The unprepared mind rejects instruction. The rigid mind resists change. The drifting mind forgets what it hears. That is why you must first prepare the instrument through which these 7 sentences will work, the mind that guides your every result. If these sentences were handed to you without preparation, they would slide off the surface of your mind like water on stone. You would admire them for a moment, perhaps use them for a day, but your old patterns would reclaim you. The mind must be softened, opened, and warmed before it accepts command. Doubt hardens a man's thoughts. Fear tightens them. Drift dissolves them. These 3 forces destroy the power of affirmations because they scatter attention in 100 directions. A man cannot give 2 opposite commands to the mind and expect stable results. He must choose which voice rules him. The subconscious mind does not obey the man who whispers without conviction. It obeys the man who repeats with decision. Repetition is the sculptor of destiny. But before repetition can change you, the mind must be cleared of the noise that has ruled you for so long. Otherwise, the old voice will speak louder than the new command. Casual listening is one of the greatest enemies of growth.
A man listens casually when he thinks he already knows enough. He listens casually when he is distracted. He listens casually when he wants change without sacrifice. Casual listening weakens power, weakens direction, and weakens the man himself. The most successful men in history prepared their minds daily before giving it instruction. Andrew Carnegie began each day by conditioning his thoughts toward the aim he intended to build. Henry Ford woke with the firm belief that his ideas deserved existence. Edison trained his mind to hold to a picture until the world bent to match it. These men were not casual listeners, they were deliberate thinkers. They gave their minds direction the way a captain gives a ship its bearings. They softened their minds through stillness, faith, repetition, and definite desire. Then they planted the commands that built their empires. Drift wastes years. Drift steals decades. Drift makes a man circle the same problems for half a lifetime. But when a man learns to prepare his mind before giving it instruction, he saves 10, 20, or even 30 years of wandering. He reduces his path because he removes confusion from it. Attention is not a simple habit. Attention is spiritual readiness. When a man's attention is fixed and unwavering, his subconscious opens like a fertile field ready for planting. When attention scatters, the field becomes barren. A single command given with full attention is more powerful than 100 spoken in distraction. You must understand that your future is watching you now. Your family is watching you now. Your rivals are watching you now. Your children are watching you now. They will feel the strength of the man you become when you learn to direct your mind with precision instead of letting it drift without purpose. Your family has already sensed the cost of your drifting seasons. They have watched you rise with morning enthusiasm only to fall back into hesitation by nightfall. They have listened to your declarations of improvement and felt uncertainty because those declarations lack the weight of conviction. When you master your mind, your household will feel safer. Your spouse will hear firmness where she once heard worry. Your children will see steadiness where they once saw uncertainty. Even your rivals will detect the change. They will feel the new density in your presence and recognize the return of a man who has regained authority over himself. But authority cannot be regained until you make your mind still. A still mind is a powerful mind. Noise is weakness. Drift is weakness. Worry is weakness. When your mind becomes quiet, it becomes receptive. When it becomes receptive, it becomes obedient. And when it becomes obedient, it becomes an instrument of power. Before you receive the 7 sentences, you must remove the habit of absorbing information passively. These sentences will not serve the man who listens the way he listens to noise. They will serve only the man who listens with purpose, who listens with hunger, who listens with the seriousness of one who knows his life depends on what he is learning. That seriousness will make the difference between a man who repeats the sentences for a week and the man who repeats them for decades. One man will admire the words. The other will become the words. One man will try. The other will transform. The difference lies entirely in the preparation of the mind. If you do not soften your mind now, the 7 sentences will sound inspiring but will not penetrate. They will feel powerful, but will not imprint themselves. They will promise transformation, but will not create it. They will remain at the surface of your thought instead of sinking into the roots of your identity. You must understand how much power you are about to hold. These 7 sentences are not motivational phrases. They are commands designed to redirect your life force. They are engineered to reach the subconscious and teach it to obey you. They are designed to restore the inner authority you have allowed to fade. Consider how many mornings you have begun with doubt rather than direction. Doubt has controlled your first steps and weakened your entire day. Fear has greeted you before you even stood from your bed. Drift has pulled you into habits that rob you of time and dignity. These sentences will reverse that process, but only if your mind is prepared. Think of the moments when anxiety captured your spirit before you had time to resist it.
Think of the nights when your thoughts spiraled into failure and humiliation. Think of the days when you made promises to yourself and then broke them by evening. These sentences must awaken the part of you that refuses to repeat those cycles. You must hear these sentences not as suggestions, but as commands from your higher nature. You must treat them as orders given to your subconscious. A man cannot direct his destiny if he is gentle with his doubts. He must be firm. He must be decisive. He must speak with the weight of authority. Your mind must be steadied. Your attention must be fixed. Your spirit must be ready. If these conditions are met, the 7 sentences will enter your mind and begin reorganizing your habits, reshaping your identity, rewiring your expectations, and redirecting your future. When your mind is prepared, a single powerful sentence can accomplish what years of effort could not. That is why the greatest leaders of history valued mental preparation more than physical strength. They understood that the man who commands his mind commands his fate. These sentences will save years of your life because they will prevent drift. Drift steals time silently. Drift convinces a man that his life is improving when nothing is changing. Drift steals days, then weeks, then years, and eventually a man wonders how half a lifetime disappeared. But a mind trained by command does not drift. When your mind becomes definite, everything changes. Your actions gain speed. Your decisions gain clarity. Your fears lose authority. Your doubts lose influence. Your purpose becomes sharp. Your results become predictable. A definite mind is the most powerful force a man can possess. I must warn you, one moment of casual listening will weaken the entire chain. These sentences are connected. Each one builds upon the last. If your mind drifts while receiving the first, the second will strike with less force. If you miss the meaning of the third, the fourth will lose its power. If you skip one, all lose strength. The man who listens fully becomes the man who rises fully. The man who gives divided attention receives divided results. The man who listens with intensity becomes the one who commands his fate. Say these words quietly now to prepare yourself. My mind is ready. My mind is obedient. My mind receives command. Say them again until your thoughts become still. Say them until your attention sharpens. Say them until your spirit opens. For soon you will hear the first sentence, and it will begin the great work within you. Sentence 1, my life gets better and better because I rise in thought each morning. A man's life changes the moment he understands that his mornings are not mere beginnings. They are declarations. The world does not shape a man's morning. The man shapes his morning, and the morning shapes his day, and the days shape the entire arc of his destiny. That is why the first sentence you must speak carries the message of ascent. My life gets better and better because I rise in thought each morning. To rise in thought is to take command of the very first moment life presents to you. It means you do not begin your day as a servant to your fears, nor as a prisoner of old habits. You begin as a creator, deciding which thoughts shall enter, which emotions shall rule, and which direction your spirit shall move. Most men rise by accident. They open their eyes and fall immediately into the same stream of thought that has controlled them for years. Their first thought is shaped by fear or fatigue or regret. Their first action is shaped by habit. Their mind is passive, their spirit dull, their purpose distant. They allow the world to dictate how their day shall unfold, but the man who rises in thought commands his world before his feet touch the floor. He understands that mornings are fertile ground. He knows that the first thought he chooses carries the weight of law. He knows that the declarations he makes in those early moments will echo through the entirety of his day. This first sentence is the root from which the other 6 will gain their power. If a man does not rise in thought, he cannot rise in life. If he begins his day with weakness, weakness will follow him like a shadow. If he begins with doubt, doubt will shape each step. If he begins without direction,
He will drift until night. This is why successful men have always treated morning as sacred. Andrew Carnegie began each day by strengthening his belief before he strengthened his business. Henry Ford used mornings to settle his mind into certainty before stepping into a world filled with resistance. Edison nurtured thought before touching a tool. These men understood a truth very few grasp. The man who owns his mornings owns his future. Nothing is more powerful than the mind in its first moments of awareness. The subconscious is open, receptive, and eager for instruction. The man who speaks the right words in that window shapes his destiny with far greater ease than the man who waits until the storms of the day begin to distract him. When you begin your day with the sentence, "My life gets better and better because I rise in thought each morning," you are sending a direct command to your subconscious. Prepare for improvement. Expect progress. Anticipate advancement. It is not the sentence itself that holds the power. It is the rising of thought behind it. It is the deliberate act of turning your mind upward instead of allowing it to sink into yesterday's fears. It is the choice to greet the day not as a victim of circumstance, but as an architect of destiny. A man who rises in thought does not wait for mood or comfort. He does not ask himself how he feels. He gives the order. He instructs the mind. He selects the direction. He declares the day. And his subconscious, obedient by nature, begins arranging his inner world accordingly. This act rebuilds inner authority. A man who rises in thought becomes a man who trusts himself again. He regains the respect he once lost. He stands taller, even if no one is watching. He speaks with more presence, even if his words are few. He feels more grounded, more prepared, more certain. His family notices the change almost immediately. They see that he walks with purpose. They hear sincerity in his tone. They feel steadiness in his presence. His partner senses that his promises now have weight. His children sense that his guidance now has direction. The entire household becomes stronger because the man has risen in thought. Rising in thought protects a man from drift. Drift waits for him each morning. Drift waits in the form of distraction, worry, old habits, and mental fog. But when a man rises intentionally, drift loses its authority over him. He begins the day anchored in purpose, not in survival. A man who drifts through his mornings wastes years. A man who rises in thought each morning saves those wasted years. He gains clarity faster. He acts sooner. He recovers from setbacks quicker. He avoids the useless detours that cost weaker men entire decades. When you repeat the sentence, "My life gets better and better because I rise in thought each morning," you awaken a force within you that has slept beneath layers of routine. You awaken the part of your mind that remembers your potential. You awaken the part that seeks growth instead of comfort. Rising in thought creates rising in fortune, not immediately, not magically, but inevitably. For a man who elevates his thought elevates every choice, every action, every habit, and every standard. His life cannot remain small when his thought rises higher each day. The subconscious responds with great power to morning declarations. It is as though it waits at the door of the day and asks you, "What shall I build for you today?" If you respond with fear, it builds fear. If you respond with drift, it builds drift. But if you respond with a rising thought, it begins building advancement. This is why your morning declaration must not be spoken weakly. Speak it with the authority of a man directing his own spirit. Speak it with a clear voice, even if it is quiet. Speak it with belief, even if the belief is still growing. Speak it until your mind accepts it as truth. Say it as you stand. Say it as you breathe. Say it as you prepare your day. My life gets better and better because I rise in thought each morning. Say it until your mornings become different. Say it until your days unfold with a new lightness. Say it until your decisions carry new strength. Say it until you awaken expectation instead of fear.
A man who rises in thought becomes dangerous to the forces that once ruled him. Doubt cannot cling to him. Worry cannot anchor itself. Fear cannot enter without resistance. Drift cannot reclaim him. He has placed himself under the law of upward movement. This sentence will save you years because it prevents wasted beginnings. Every day that starts with confusion requires hours to correct. Every day that begins with worry becomes heavy long before noon. Every day that begins without direction ends without advancement. But the day that begins with rising in thought, that day is governed by power. Imagine how your rivals will view you when they see that you enter each day with certainty. They will feel the difference before they understand it. They will notice that you have grown steady while they remain unpredictable. They will sense a momentum in you that cannot be denied. Imagine how your family will benefit. Your spouse will walk with more peace. Your children will inherit your steadiness. They will learn from your example that life improves when a man commands his thought. Imagine how you will feel months from now, stronger, clearer, wiser, calmer. You will begin to trust your own decisions because you will know that they are shaped each morning by deliberate thought, not emotional reaction. Say the sentence one more time with full conviction. My life gets better and better because I rise in thought each morning. Let it root itself deep within you. Let it lift you. Let it anchor you and let it guide you. For a man who rises in thought will soon rise in life. Sentence 2. Everything I touch advances because I move with purpose. There is a spiritual difference between the man who touches life with hesitation and the man who touches life with purpose. One weakens everything he does by dividing his mind. The other strengthens everything he does by uniting his mind behind a single intention. The second sentence teaches you to become the latter. Everything I touch advances because I move with purpose. Purpose transforms even the smallest act into a step forward. A man may perform a simple task, speaking to a colleague, planning his day, writing a list, tightening a bolt, and yet that task becomes a brick in the foundation of his future if he performs it with intention. Nothing is wasted in the hands of a purposeful man. Purpose makes a man magnetic. You can feel it in his presence. His tone carries weight. His eyes carry direction. His step carries certainty. Others sense that he is going somewhere, and they instinctively respect him. Even his silence becomes significant because it is filled with intention, not emptiness. This sentence reshapes your identity from a drifting man into an advancing man. It replaces the spirit of wandering with the spirit of pursuit. When you speak the words, everything I touch advances because I move with purpose, you are commanding your subconscious to treat each action as meaningful. Most men handle their days casually. They rush into tasks without direction, then wonder why they accomplish nothing. They touch dozens of things each day, conversations, opportunities, decisions, but because they touch them without purpose, nothing advances. They end the day exhausted but unchanged. Purpose saves a man decades because it prevents wasted movement. A man without purpose can spend 20 years in constant effort, yet remain in the same place. A man with purpose can accomplish in 1 year what others cannot accomplish in 5. Purpose condenses progress. Drift expands delay. Look at Henry Ford. He did not simply work, he worked with direction. Every experiment, every conversation, every plan was aligned with his aim. That is why his progress, though challenged, never stopped. His purpose created a clear path through obstacles that defeated lesser men. When others hesitated, his intention carried him. Andrew Carnegie embodied this principle with equal force. He approached every day with a single aim: advancement. Every hour served his purpose. Every meeting served his purpose. Every decision served his purpose. His purpose was so strong that even his mistakes advanced him because he moved with intention, not confusion. When you adopt this sentence, every area of your life will feel the shift. Your family will sense it first. They will notice that you no longer walk with scattered energy. They will see you move through your home with clarity. Your spouse will feel safer because your presence communicates direction. Your children will stand taller because they are following a man who knows where he is going. Your rivals will sense the shift as well. Purpose gives a man an aura that unsettles the unfocused. They will see that you are no longer competing with noise. They will see that you no longer hesitate. They will see that your decisions come quickly, your voice carries strength, and your movements are deliberate. Rivals fear the man who moves with purpose because purpose always wins. Routine tasks become stepping stones to destiny when touched by purpose. Washing dishes, planning your day, doing your work, speaking with others, all begin to contribute to your advancement. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Purpose collects value from every moment. Purpose eliminates hesitation. The man who knows why he moves does not stop to negotiate with fear. He does not pause to consult his doubts. He does not wait for the perfect moment. He moves because he has chosen the direction. His decision is his permission. A purposeful man is dependable. His family trusts him, his colleagues trust him, his own mind trusts him. When he says he will do something, he does it. When he sets an aim, he advances. When he begins a task, he finishes. Trust is the fruit of purpose. Drifting men handle the same tasks as purposeful men, yet produce nothing. The drifting man works, but his work is scattered. He decides, but his decisions are weak. He moves, but his movement is unfocused. The same hours pass through his hands, yet they fall wasted because they are touched without intention. This sentence, "Everything I touch advances because I move with purpose," turns your entire life into disciplined motion. It instructs your subconscious to push everything you engage with forward. It makes progress your default state. It trains your mind to stop wasting energy on trivial thinking and start directing energy toward meaningful movement. Speak it slowly, with conviction. Everything I touch advances because I move with purpose. Say it until your spirit rises. Say it until your thought becomes sharp. Say it until your movements gain meaning. Once this sentence becomes rooted, your life will no longer remain stagnant. You will notice a new momentum. Doors that were once closed will begin to open. People who once overlooked you will begin to pay attention. Opportunities that once seemed distant will begin approaching you. Purpose is not loud. Purpose is steady. Purpose is calm. Purpose is firm. When you carry purpose, you no longer rush. You no longer panic. You no longer drift. You move at the pace of certainty, not fear. You move in the direction you choose. This sentence will save you years because it stops the slow bleeding of your time. A man wastes countless hours each day through indecision, distraction, and emotional drift. But a man guided by purpose becomes efficient. He chooses quickly. He acts promptly. He stays aligned with his aim. A day with purpose is worth more than a week without it. A week with purpose is worth more than a month without it. A year with purpose is worth more than a decade without it. This is how the purposeful man outruns others who once seemed ahead of him. Speak it again. Everything I touch advances because I move with purpose. Let it shape the way you work. Let it shape the way you speak. Let it shape the way you decide, and let it shape the way you walk. A man with purpose becomes powerful because he is no longer divided within himself. All his energy moves in one direction. All his thought flows toward one end. All his actions serve one aim. This unity creates force. Soon you will notice others treating you differently. They will seek your counsel. They will respect your time. They will look to you as a man who is rising. They will feel the gravity in your presence. They will sense that you have become dangerous to stagnation. But this transformation begins with a simple declaration. One you must speak daily, especially in moments of confusion. Everything I touch advances because I move with purpose. Purpose is power. Purpose is steadiness. Purpose is leadership. Purpose is destiny. And a man guided by purpose cannot fail.
Sentence 3, I command my thoughts, and my thoughts command my world. A man becomes powerful the day he discovers that his thoughts are not accidental visitors, but obedient servants. They do not arrive without cause. They do not operate without permission. They follow the orders he gives them, even when he gives those orders unconsciously. This is why the third sentence is the turning point of your rise. I command my thoughts, and my thoughts command my world. Thought is the origin of all achievement. A man's life cannot rise above the level of his thinking. His actions may be strong, but if his thoughts are weak, his results will shrink to match them. Thought is the root. Action is the fruit. To command the fruit, you must command the root. Most men obey their thoughts. They believe every idea that enters their minds. They surrender to fear the moment it appears. They follow doubt as though it were authority. They drift with the tide of worry. They behave as servants to their own mental noise. But the man you are becoming is not a servant. He is a commander. When you say, I command my thoughts, you are reclaiming the authority you surrendered through years of drift. You are telling your mind what it must do instead of allowing it to tell you what you must fear. This is not imagination. It is spiritual discipline, and it is the foundation of every great life. Edison possessed this discipline more than any man of his age. When he pursued an idea, he held it in his mind with such stubborn clarity that failure could not extinguish it. His thoughts obeyed him. They remained steady. They remained loyal. They remained fixed. Because of this, his world obeyed him as well. Lincoln mastered thought during crisis. When the nation fractured, he did not surrender to the chaotic voices that surrounded him. He held his mind calm, steady, firm. That calmness radiated through the nation. His thoughts commanded his world because he commanded his thoughts. That is the mark of a leader. Thought arrow belief, arrow action, arrow identity, arrow destiny. This is the law. And this sentence gives you mastery over it. A man who controls his thoughts controls the beliefs that form inside him. Those beliefs control his actions. Those actions build his identity, and that identity shapes the destiny he becomes. A man who commands his thoughts commands each link of the chain, but drifting thought creates drifting circumstances. A mind filled with fear produces a life filled with fear. A mind filled with doubt produces a life filled with hesitation. A mind filled with confusion produces a life filled with disorder. Thought is the architect. Circumstance is the structure. This sentence saves decades because it prevents mental wandering. A wandering mind wastes years. It revisits old failures. It imagines threats that do not exist. It weakens a man before he can begin. But a commanded mind directs its own energy. It stays fixed on achievement. Most men try to fix their circumstances without fixing their thoughts. They run from problem to problem, trying to change conditions outside themselves, but conditions are mirrors. A man must change the source, not the reflection. Change the thought, and the world must follow. When you speak this sentence, you are telling your subconscious to stop accepting every fear, every doubt, every old memory as truth. You are drawing a line. You are declaring authority. You are saying, only the thoughts I choose may remain. A man who commands his thoughts becomes a leader of himself. Leadership begins within, long before it is seen by others. When a man governs his inner world, his outer world cannot help but reorganize around his new authority. People sense it. They feel it. They respond to it. Your family will notice this shift immediately. They will feel the calmness in your presence. They will sense stability in your tone. They will trust your words because your thoughts are no longer scattered. Children feel mental steadiness more than adults. They will stand taller around you when your mind is disciplined. Rivals will feel it too. They may not know why they hesitate before speaking to you, but they will feel a new density in your presence. A man with controlled thought becomes harder to manipulate, harder to intimidate, harder to unsettle. Rivals sense this and grow cautious.
A controlled mind becomes a fortress. Weak emotions cannot enter it. Old habits cannot reclaim it. Confusion cannot rattle it. When a man commands his thoughts, he becomes insulated from the storms that devastate lesser spirits. He becomes steady when others collapse. You must now practice this sentence with the seriousness of a general directing his army. Speak it slowly. I command my thoughts, and my thoughts command my world. Say it until your mind obeys. Say it until your thoughts align like soldiers before a march. Say it until you feel authority returning to your spirit. This sentence is not wishful. It is structural. It organizes your mind. It strengthens your will. It removes the weakness that once held you hostage. It protects you from the destructive cycle of overthinking. It teaches you to think only thoughts that serve your purpose. Thought mastery is not the absence of negative ideas. It is the refusal to obey them. A commander does not prevent every enemy from approaching his gate. He prevents them from entering. The same must now be true for you. If a fearful thought enters, dismiss it. If a doubtful thought enters, reject it. If a drifting thought enters, refocus it. If a weak thought enters, replace it. You are the authority. Your thoughts are not your masters. They are your tools. Say the sentence again with firmness. I command my thoughts, and my thoughts command my world. As you practice this, you will notice your inner world becoming quiet. Your mind will stop interrupting your progress with fear. Your emotions will stop controlling your decisions. Your spirit will stop bending to old patterns. You will think with precision, not confusion. And when your thoughts become precise, your actions become precise. Your voice becomes calm. Your choices become wiser. Your presence becomes powerful. A man who governs his mind becomes a force in any room he enters. This is the foundation of your rise. Control thought, and you control destiny. Say it once more, slowly, deliberately, as a man giving orders to himself. I command my thoughts, and my thoughts command my world. Sentence 4. I act now, for delay is the thief of destiny. There is a deadly enemy of greatness that has ruined more lives than failure ever has. It is not fear. It is not ignorance. It is not weakness. It is delay. Delay is the silent thief of destiny. Delay disguises itself as caution, as preparation, as planning, as prudence, but its results are always the same: lost years. That is why the fourth sentence must be spoken with force. I act now, for delay is the thief of destiny. Life rewards movement. Life respects momentum. Life answers decisiveness. But life ignores the man who waits for conditions to be perfect before he begins. Perfection is the excuse of the hesitant. Action is the habit of the destined. Most men spend their best years preparing to begin. They gather advice. They wait for confidence. They seek reassurance. They wait for fear to disappear. They wait for the right time. And while they wait, life passes them by. Their children grow older. Their strength fades. Their opportunities vanish. The man who acts now takes command of fate. He shapes the conditions instead of waiting for them. He builds confidence through movement. He gains clarity through action. He learns by advancing, not by delaying. Every step he takes strengthens him. Henry Ford acted long before experts agreed with him. He acted before he had proof, before he had acceptance, before he had success. Action was his faith. Action was his teacher. Action was his path. Because he acted, the world eventually followed him. Charles Schwab moved with the same bold spirit. While others debated, he moved. While others hesitated, he advanced. While others waited for permission, he created opportunity. Action is a form of courage that commands respect from fortune. Decisive movement eliminates fear. Fear cannot survive motion. A man may sit in silence for hours trying to think courage into himself, but the moment he takes one step toward his aim, a surge of strength fills him. Fear weakens before action, because action awakens the spirit. Action shapes reputation instantly. Speak boldly, but fail to move, and your words become noise. Act boldly, and the world recognizes your seriousness. A man who acts now becomes known as dependable. His family begins trusting his promises. His rivals begin respecting his force. His own mind begins believing in his power. Delay weakens dignity. Every time a man delays what he knows he must do, he loses respect for himself. He feels smaller. He walks with less confidence. He doubts his own word. But when a man acts immediately, he strengthens the core of his character. He becomes proud of his choices. This sentence rewires hesitation. It replaces the habit of waiting with the habit of moving. It shifts the internal question from should I to how quickly can I begin. It trains the mind to interpret action as safety and delay as danger. This shift will save you 10, 20, even 30 years of your life. A man who acts now gains momentum faster than the man who waits. He solves problems sooner. He learns quicker. He becomes stronger earlier. He builds reputation earlier. He achieves mastery sooner. Most of your lost years were stolen by delay. You knew what to do, but you did not move. You felt desire, but you did not commit. You saw opportunities, but you hesitated. Now the years are gone, but this sentence ends that cycle forever. Say it with authority. I act now, for delay is the thief of destiny. Say it until hesitation breaks. Say it until movement becomes natural. Say it until you trust yourself again. Action is not noise. Action is not chaos. Action is not blindness. Action is leadership. Action is conviction. And action is faith in movement. Action is the refusal to waste another year. Speak it again with full resolve. I act now, for delay is the thief of destiny. And from this moment forward, let your actions prove your words. Sentence 5. What I repeat with faith becomes the law of my life. There is a law in the universe as reliable as sunrise. Repetition forms identity, and identity shapes destiny. A man may speak a sentence once and feel encouraged, but encouragement fades. Yet if he speaks it daily with faith, conviction, and persistence, that same sentence becomes the unseen hand that directs his life. This is why the 5th sentence carries immense power. What I repeat with faith becomes the law of my life. A man must understand that repetition is not mere habit. Repetition is the chisel that shapes the subconscious into the image of desire. The subconscious accepts whatever is repeated with emotion. It does not question. It does not argue. It obeys, and it turns repeated command into automatic behavior. Weak repetition produces weak results. A man who mumbles affirmations without belief is like a farmer planting seeds in dry sand. His words cannot take root. His spirit does not move. His identity does not change. But when repetition is filled with faith, when spoken with the certainty of a man claiming what is his, destiny begins to rearrange itself. Carnegie used repetition daily to strengthen his purpose. He conditioned his mind every morning, long before he conditioned his business. He understood that he could not build steel without building thought. He repeated commands that aligned him with his aim. Over time, those commands became his identity, and his identity built an empire. Repetition plus faith creates obedience within the subconscious. When you speak with conviction, you impress your mind the way heavy machinery impresses steel. Each repetition deepens the groove. Each repetition strengthens the message. Each repetition replaces old patterns with new ones. This sentence protects you from negative influence. A mind filled with deliberate repetition cannot be ruled by doubt. It cannot be taken hostage by fear. It cannot be controlled by the discouragement of others. Your repeated words act as spiritual armor, shielding you from the weakness around you. Your family will notice your consistency. They will see you rising early to speak your affirmations. They will hear certainty in your tone. They will see discipline in your posture. Your spouse will feel more secure because she senses that you have become reliable within yourself. Your children will learn by observing your steadiness. Repetition forms the invisible architecture of character.
Every hero of history was shaped by repeated thought long before he became recognized by others. Repetition builds belief. Belief builds confidence. Confidence builds action. Action builds identity. Identity builds destiny. When you speak, what I repeat with faith becomes the law of my life. You are telling your subconscious, these words are no longer suggestions. They are commands. They are law. They are truth. And the subconscious, unable to resist the laws you establish, begins to align your entire being with what you repeat. Think of how many years you lost because you repeated the wrong thoughts. You repeated fear until fear became habit. You repeated doubt until doubt became identity. You repeated excuses until they became reflex. You repeated limitations until they became your standards. But now you use repetition as a weapon. You use repetition to destroy the old identity and construct a new one. You use repetition to reclaim the years drift stole from you. You use repetition to fortify your mind against every voice that once controlled you. Say it now. What I repeat with faith becomes the law of my life. Say it again with deeper conviction. Say it until your tone carries authority. Say it until your inner voice bows to those words. Faith gives repetition its fire. Emotion gives repetition its force. Consistency gives repetition its permanence. A man who repeats truth daily eventually becomes truth. A man who repeats strength daily eventually becomes strong. A man who repeats purpose daily eventually becomes unstoppable. Repetition is not magic. It is discipline. It is loyalty to your future. It is the daily act of choosing who you will become. And the man who chooses daily becomes the man the world must obey. Speak it once more, slowly, as if engraving it upon your mind. What I repeat with faith becomes the law of my life, because soon it will. Sentence 6. I welcome challenge, for challenge builds the strength I require. Most men fear challenge. They run from it. They avoid it. They hope to live days free from struggle and nights free from pressure. But these men never rise. They never build the strength required for leadership. They remain fragile because they mistake comfort for safety. The 6th sentence transforms that weakness into power. I welcome challenge, for challenge builds the strength I require. Challenge is not punishment. Challenge is preparation. Every strong man you admire was shaped not by comfort, but by difficulty. Lincoln endured endless storms of criticism, grief, and uncertainty. Yet challenge forged him into the leader the nation needed. Without hardship, he would have remained ordinary. Edison failed more times than most men attempt. Yet each challenge sharpened his vision. Each setback strengthened his resolve. The challenge built the man, and the man built the invention. Without resistance, he would not have discovered the strength required to persist where others quit. Rockefeller remained calm through the fiercest financial pressures of his time. Challenge did not intimidate him. It refined him. His steadiness came not from avoiding adversity, but from mastering it. Challenge built his composure, and composure built his empire. When you welcome challenge, you remove its power to frighten you. When you fear challenge, it grows larger. When you welcome it, it shrinks. Your attitude toward adversity determines whether adversity becomes poison or nourishment. Challenge builds the muscles of decision. Challenge builds the muscles of discipline. Challenge builds the muscles of faith. Challenge builds the muscles of will. No man grows strong through ease. Ease makes men soft. Challenge makes men capable. When you speak, I welcome challenge, your subconscious interprets adversity differently. Instead of viewing hardships as threats, it views them as training. Instead of shrinking, you expand. Instead of retreating, you rise. Instead of fearing difficulty, you see opportunity within it. This sentence creates resilience. It shapes the kind of man who does not collapse under pressure. It builds steadiness, the quiet confidence that calms families, inspires teams, and unsettles rivals. A resilient man becomes a pillar in every room he enters. Your family feels safer when you welcome challenge. They sense that you will not crumble under the weight of life.
Your spouse sees that pressure no longer breaks you. Your children learn courage by watching your example. They learn to face difficulty instead of hiding from it. Rivals fear a man who grows stronger under pressure. They may defeat a man who is comfortable. They may intimidate a man who is fearful. But they cannot stop the man who becomes stronger each time he is tested. Your rise unsettles them because their challenges only build you. Challenge saves years of inner weakness. A man who avoids difficulty remains fragile. He spends decades running from fear. He misses opportunities he was capable of seizing. But a man who welcomes challenge develops strength early. He gains confidence faster. He rises sooner. He saves decades because he refuses to remain weak. Speak it slowly. I welcome challenge, for challenge builds the strength I require. Say it again with force. Say it until your fear dissolves. Say it until your courage awakens. In time, challenge will no longer frighten you. It will energize you. It will shape you. It will refine you. It will elevate you. Challenge is the furnace through which strong men are formed, and you are becoming one of them. Sentence 7. My life gets better and better because I decide it must. There comes a moment in every man's life when he realizes that improvement is not a matter of fortune, not a matter of luck, not a matter of favorable winds, but a matter of decision. A man's life improves the instant he commands it to improve and refuses every voice that once told him he must wait. That is why the 7th sentence is the crown of all the rest. My life gets better and better because I decide it must. Decision is the highest expression of man's spiritual power. It is the force that tells the world, I will no longer drift. It is the statement that ends old chapters, breaks old habits, cuts ties with weakness, and calls forth strength where there was once only fear. Nothing in a man's life changes until he decides it must. But once he decides, everything begins to follow. Most men do not fail because of their circumstances. They fail because they refuse to decide. They linger in hesitation. They wait for clearer signs, for safer conditions, for gentler feelings. They wait for the world to approve of their intention. They wait for permission, and in the waiting, their strength decays. Decision rescues a man from this decay. Decision awakens purpose. Decision gives order to thought and velocity to action. When you say, I decide, life begins reorganizing itself in ways you cannot see. Doors open. People appear. Ideas surface. Paths clear. Not because fate favors you, but because decision gives direction to spiritual law. Carnegie rose by decision. He was not born into wealth. He was not carried by luck. He made decisions with such firmness that others could feel the strength of his intention. He decided he would rise. He decided he would build. He decided he would become a master of industry. Life obeyed his decision. Ford was lifted by the same force. When he decided that his vision was possible, every attempt that followed carried the power of that decision. Without the decision, the attempts would have remained feeble, but with the decision, even his failures moved him forward. Decision gave his life a backbone. Weak decisions create weak futures. The man who hopes, tries, or intends remains fragile. Hope is soft. Trying is temporary. Intention is incomplete, but decision is final. Decision cuts off retreat. Decision ends debate. Decision forces a man to rise. This sentence seals your identity. The previous 6 sentences built the structure of your mind. This final sentence establishes the throne upon which your identity will sit. It tells your subconscious that improvement is not optional, not occasional, not conditional. It is required. It is certain. It is inevitable. My life gets better and better because I decide it must. When you speak this, you are not describing a possibility. You are issuing a verdict. Life obeys the man who decides with firmness. Life yields to the man who decides without fear. Life clears the path for the man who decides without apology. Life bends for the man who decides with authority. Every spiritual force responds to decision. A man who has truly decided cannot be stopped by external conditions because decision changes his inner condition, and the inner condition always precedes the outer result. Decision eliminates fear. Fear thrives in uncertainty. Fear grows in hesitation. Fear spreads in indecision. But when a man decides, fear loses its soil. It cannot grow in a mind that has become definite. Decision starves fear into silence. Decision eliminates drift. Drift lives in the space between knowing what to do and doing it. Drift fills the hours a man spends in thought without action. But when a man decides, he collapses that space. He acts, he advances, he moves with the certainty of a commander giving orders. Decision eliminates doubt. Doubt survives by offering endless alternatives. But decision removes alternatives. Decision creates a single path, and doubt cannot exist where there is no choice but forward. Your family will recognize this transformation before you speak a word of it. They will feel the firmness in your presence. They will hear decision in your tone. They will see that you walk with purpose instead of fear. They will watch you choose with clarity instead of confusion. Your spouse will sense that the man she hoped you would become has finally awakened. She will feel protected, not because life has grown easier, but because you have grown stronger. Your certainty becomes her safety. Your children will study the new strength in your decisions. They will learn from your composure. They will inherit your decisiveness. A decisive father raises decisive children. A drifting father raises drifting children. Decision creates legacy. Your rivals will feel a shift they cannot explain. They will sense that you no longer measure yourself against them. They will see that you have become inwardly secure, outwardly steady, and spiritually grounded. Nothing unsettles a rival more than a man who has decided to rise. This sentence saves 10, 20, even 30 years because it ends the wasted seasons of half commitment. It ends the years you spent waiting for the right moment. It ends the months you spent doubting your ability. It ends the days you lost to hesitation. Decision compresses your timeline. A man who decides in one day achieves more than a man who hesitates for 10 years. Say the sentence now with full authority. My life gets better and better because I decide it must. Say it again, deeper. Say it until the words vibrate through your chest. Say it until your mind accepts it as a command. This sentence creates an identity that cannot be moved by fear. It creates a man who does not negotiate with weakness. It creates a spirit that stands firm where others bend. It creates a future that responds to the will of its creator. Decision makes you unshakable. Decision makes you calm. Decision makes you disciplined. Decision makes you powerful. The world cannot stop a man who has decided that he must rise. Everything in his life begins moving upward because his identity no longer allows downward motion. His actions align with his decision. His habits align with his decision. His results align with his decision. When a man decides, life must obey. Say it once more slowly as the master of your own fate. My life gets better and better because I decide it must. These are not hopeful words. These are commands. These are laws. These are the roots of a new identity. You have now completed the 7 sentences. And because you have completed them, your life is already rising.